We're live.
This is the very first Sheeples Army live stream via Twitch.
There it is.
Exciting stuff. History is in the making.
Yeah, welcome to our live coverage, or significantly more likely, you're watching this several months from now.
Definitely.
Welcome.
I'm going to post it up on our Instagram.
That's the move,
Cool.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so we have kind of I've hit a fun milestone as part of this, part of the preparation for this, which was the host for one of my favorite podcasts asked me for a set of the bingo cards. I think I told you all about.
Oh, who's that?
So it's the podcast is Eat the Rich.
Oh,
His name
cool.
is like Chris, I think. I don't know.
Are they a pretty big podcast?
Yeah, they're big. They got I think 17,000, 18,000 followers.
Damn, shouts out.
Yeah, shouts out. Please have us on, or come on our show if you want.
So thirsty.
I'm thirsty as fuck, dude. Yeah.
When I turned this on, I for some reason thought I saw Amy Coney Barrett in there. I think she's ingrained into my memory now after.
I see her everywhere.
He's watching our live stream.
Amy Coney Barrett.
Friend of the pod, Amy Coney
Barrett.
Amy Coney Barrett.
If you're out there, send me a DM. Or rather, respond to my DMs.
I've got some things I'd like to talk to you about, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If I could ask everyone to take their seat, please.
I had an intrusive thought just now when she started speaking.
She's waiting for us to be quiet.
Sheeples Army, I'm looking
Scolding
at you.
us. Yeah.
Is she wearing Patagonia? What is that?
Oh, you better believe it.
North Face?
My name is Janet Brown. I'm Executive Director of the Commission on Presidential Debates, and I'd like to welcome you to the first presidential
This person is
debate
presumably
of
quite
2020.
powerful, right? But we've never heard of her.
There are a lot of people who have made
She's
extraordinary
calling all the
contributions to making this
She
evening
decides who wins.
possible. And in a few moments, you will hear from two of our co-chairs to start the appreciation to those who have helped. Our third co-chair, Dot Ridings, is in Louisville, Kentucky tonight. Her leadership in debates goes back to 1976 and includes the presidency of the League of Women Voters. The CPD is the beneficiary of 33 years' worth of people who have been willing to put their name on our work. To all of those former presidents and chancellors of debate sites, to former moderators, to members of our Debates International Network.
Why do you think they
who
disabled
set
the
their
chat
clocks to
for
3
the
a.m.
debate?
tomorrow morning to tune in live?
Too many
What do you mean?
We
trolls.
thank you with all our hearts.
Definitely way too many trolls. Yeah.
In
Oh,
1987,
I knew I was gonna
Paul Kirk
troll.
and Frank Fahrenkopf co-founded
Dude, I was gonna
the
troll
CPD.
so hard, but
I'd
I
like
was
to
gonna throw the
introduce
whole
the
election.
co-chair.
Fucking,
Frank
we had.
Fahrenkopf and his colleague are also our co-chair.
Should we
Ken
like
Wall,
not
to
talk for
start
this? Is
part of the
anyone gonna
program.
fucking care about?
Oh
this part
no,
of the debate?
go ahead. Go ahead.
Cool. Sweet. So for a couple of weeks ago for my work, we had this huge public meeting where
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
we had close to 400 people there, and like the governor was there, and the head of like public schools in Washington was
If you
there.
have not had the opportunity yet,
And like there was somebody
go
in the
around and see
chat
this
from our
fantastic
organization, like
facility,
one of our
you really
members,
should.
who was just shit
It's just a
talking
great
Governor
tribute to
Inslee
everyone
like
who's been involved
relentlessly
with it.
throughout the entire
It's so
thing. It was
important.
all-
It's
pretty based.
It was extremely
To
based.
say, as
Yeah.
Janet mentioned,
Like they kept
this is
staff
the
kept
most
trying to like
challenging
post stuff so that
time
like
for this
you wouldn't be able to
commission
see her
in
comments,
its
but you
33
could see
years of
him. It was
existence due
awesome.
to the coronavirus problems. So many people.
I didn't know
Janet
Dick Cheney was gonna
said
be here.
Are responsible. We normally don't come out when my co-chairman and I come out and thank people, but we wouldn't be here today if it had not been for them. As we serve as both the sponsor and the
Did you
producer
tweet the link to this?
of the debates,
Yeah,
we have a
You did,
crew
a bunch
Justin.
of times. I tweeted it fucking
65
everywhere.
people,
Okay.
most
good.
of which have been with us for years. Some of them go back to the first
Yeah, I haven't
debates
even opened up
in
the
1988.
Twitch stream, so.
So,
And thanks so much to United Airlines, who stepped up to the plate and graciously
Shout out United
provided to
Airlines.
fly our whole crew from one
Wherever
site
you
to
are.
another throughout the rest of the term.
and we should have
Shout out for United Airlines.
check out the monitor the
Bush
comments,
has been
see
with
if
us
we're getting
for
any
28 years.
anything interesting going on.
as has the firm of Crowell and Moore
Anyone watching?
in Washington,
Yeah, see
D.C.
if anybody's actually watching.
Also, special thanks to some people in the network business, in the journalism
It
business,
says one viewer.
Pentagram, CBS News Radio, and Intercom Communications. In the hotel behind us, the Intercontinental, there's a tremendously large room, which is
Where?
called the Media Filing Center. There's only, I guess, is about 700 people in there today. We usually have 3,000 to 5,000 people in the Media Filing Center. And so with the cut down that we've had, you can look around this audience, we normally have 900 people in the audience. You people are very fortunate to have the opportunity to be here tonight.
Super
The
lucky.
National Press Club in Washington, D.C.
I
tonight
can't believe they rejected
is
our
hosting
press
the Media
passes for
Filing
this.
Center for those journalists in Washington.
It's all
who couldn't be
politics.
here tonight.
Yeah.
So
Bullshit
we're very,
politics.
very thankful for that.
It's purely political.
I had that
Many of you- I
VIP
see
access
faces here
to.
I've known and been in the
I was
audience.
going
It's a fucking
backstage.
popularity contest.
There
Yeah.
will be, in the estimate of most experts, close to 120 million people watching this debate this evening. It'll be on their TV
All those
sets.
people are actually also
It'll be on
watching
their
us,
computers,
strangely enough.
They are.
iPads,
Yeah, actually, this is the main
on their
broadcast
iPhones,
for the debate.
listening on the
So,
radio.
look out, America.
And those 120 million, or however it works out to be,
Viewers can use the
serve
hashtag Free
be able
Sheeples
to listen
Army
and
to
observe on this
protest
stage
the
tonight.
banning of Sheeples
These two
Army
men
from the
put
the
forward
unions.
why they should be
They can
elected
also use the
president of
hashtag
the
Wake
United
Up Sheeple
And that's why
Yes.
it's
spread
been
awareness about our
history
band.
in the
That will
general
also
election
work.
debates that we urge our audiences not to clap,
No
not to
clapping.
yell, to sit silent.
Of course not. I mean,
Don't clap.
Not interfere
don't
with these
clap.
people
You know,
Sit
who are
silently.
trying to just ascertain.
sit silently and accept
who they're going to
democracy.
vote for.
Like,
Now, exactly at 9
yeah, I think it's like in the rules for every
You're going
debate.
to
Like,
hear a lot of
you're
noise
100% gonna hear people
you turn
cheer
around
and then
now,
hear
you
the
can take a
moderators
quick
be
look.
like,
There's
"We would like to remind our audience."
Yeah.
Yeah, these are the major nets.
Yeah.
And at 9 sharp,
100%,
you're going to hear them all go on air.
Why do they
So it
want
makes
it
a
to be
little
so
noise. Don't be
boring?
afraid by
Like, I don't like.
Oh,
It must,
because
at the
if
end,
it's
really
actually,
thank
I mean, they don't want it to be boring. They want it
people
to
that
be
you
exciting in
saw
a
on
very
your way
specific
here
way.
tonight.
You know,
Right.
And you see
which is
around
why,
you.
like,
United
yeah,
States
they
Secret
tried to like
Service,
smear Bernie in
Federal
every
Bureau of
fucking debate.
Investigation, Department of
We're gonna
Homeland
see.
Security.
I have a
the
feeling who they might
Clemson
try to
Media
smear in this
Forensic
debate.
Hub
We'll see if it
is
actually
working
works.
with us and monitoring the web and social media. So there's so many people to thank, and these men and women and the police department that you saw outside, the local police department, who work so hard to keep us all safe and keep our nation safe.
Ugh.
So thanks. Now I'd like to introduce the newest member
Fucking
of
losers.
the leadership team, Ken Wallach, who for 25
Oh,
years
dude, Ken Wallach is
ran
coming
the
up?
National
Oh my
Democratic
God.
Who is Ken
Institute for
Wallach?
International Affairs, NDI, and we're
I don't
really
know.
excited
Who's
to
not
have you
Ken
join
Wallach?
us as co-chair.
Wait, what can't Ken Wallach do?
I join Frank, Janet, and fellow board members, including Yvonne Howe and Jane Harmon, who are with us tonight, in welcoming you to the 23rd presidential debate sponsored and organized by the Commission on Presidential Debates. As Frank said, I'm the Commission's newest co-chair, and as the new kid on the block, I
This
am
old
proud
buck.
to work alongside those
New kid on the block.
Yeah,
He looks like
you-
it.
for the past
At a certain age, you kind of surpass the
You're not allowed to say that.
and the
the new kid on the block.
political
Is
process.
that ageist to say?
A view shared
Yeah,
by
but
the
yeah, let's let them come after us, man. Let's serve some
American
controversy.
electorate.
Yeah.
But as significant as debates have become here, they can be even more consequential overseas, where the Commission, in partnership with the National Democratic Institute, has helped organize more than 400 debates in 45 nations.
God.
Okay, guys,
Those
I will be
conflict
back in a
countries
second.
and
I'm gonna
new
go get
and
something to
emerging
drink.
democracies,
All right.
debates have helped
good.
level the playing field in places where only one party has ruled. They have forced discussion on policy issues, not personalities. And yes, they have promoted comity among political competitors.
Like, debates don't matter that much. I'm just gonna come out and say it. Unless like somebody fucks up
the
incredibly bad.
establishment of a global support network of similar debate organizations from nearly 40 countries, dubbed Debates International. Now, I would call your attention to the Commission-sponsored Debate Watch 2020 and the participation by watch groups in all 50 states. From a hair salon owner in Cleveland Heights hosting 10 employees to the Atlantic Council hosting a global audience for more than 80,000. The goal of the debate watch is not to say who won or
but it
who
kind of is.
lost,
Yeah,
but to
bullshit.
share views with those who agree and those who don't, to listen respectfully to each other's
I am
opinions.
not going to be respectful.
We are pleased
I'm
that the
patently
Commission's
disrespectful. My
longest-standing
plan.
supporters,
Been prepping all day.
Judy and Peter Kovler, are in the audience tonight. For 32 years, the Judy and Peter Blum Kovler Foundation has given its trust to the nonpartisan mission of the Commission. We are deeply grateful for their belief in our work and their extraordinary contribution to the 2020.
Don't you think this fool gets paid for this?
It is now my distinct honor
A fucking $1 million.
to introduce Dr. Tom Mihaljevic,
Probably, right? What do you think?
president of
Something
the Cleveland
stupid.
Clinic.
Yeah,
and
it's like,
Barbara Snyder,
you don't get to like
president
go up
of
into the
Case
debate
Western
stage and say a bunch of
Reserve
stupid shit
University.
unless you're
Thank you
making a
very
lot
much.
of money. Or you're like, one of the oligarchs. But I guess they all are, right?
Good evening. On behalf of Cleveland Clinic, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the city of Cleveland. Tonight, you join us in the beautiful Sampson Pavilion of the Health Education Campus at Cleveland Clinic. We share this campus with our partners from Case Western Reserve University.
This dude looks super fucking
This building
Italian.
is very special to us. It was opened just a
Yeah, he
year
does.
ago.
This dude's
as a
mobbed up for
place
sure.
Students, medical, nursing, and dental to
Allegedly.
begin their professional
Allegedly. Please don't
journeys
sue us,
by
Tom
learning together as students.
Mihaljevic.
At that time, as we were
If you want to come on the show,
opening
Tom,
this
we would love to issue a
none
formal
of us could have
apology.
imagined that we would soon face
We don't
a
want our
worldwide
kneecaps
pandemic.
broken.
When it happened, we converted this
Hell yeah.
building into a COVID-19 surge hospital. The space in which you're
Okay, who
sitting
won?
right now had one.
Well, we were just debating on if this dude's Italian or not, and also if he's mobbed up or not.
If he's wait, what was the second thing?
Not come in
He's
Ohio.
mobbed up.
But tonight, this building serves
No, I would know.
Yeah, that's true.
I would know.
You can tell.
and it is
Yeah.
a historic event for us
Tyler's got
and for our
connections.
city.
So guys, what are we thinking? What's going to happen tonight with
The
Trump
Commission
and
on
Biden?
Presidential debates is their health security
What are we
advisor.
going to watch for?
We at
All
Cleveland
right.
Clinic
So if
and
you
our
if you
70,000
haven't checked out our
caregivers
bingo
have been
card yet,
serving
please
the
check it
health
out.
needs
It's
in
all
Cleveland
over our
since
Twitter
1921.
page, and I think possibly our
nearly
Instagram as well.
100 years.
There's some predictions there,
Yet, our
but
organization
personally, I think broad
and
strokes.
our caregivers have never
Biden and
shown
Trump are going to
ready
yell at each other a
during
lot.
this
I think
pandemic.
Biden is going to get
The
flustered and look
pandemic
bad.
has brought out the
I
best.
don't think Trump is going to look
of our
great, but I think Biden's
organization
going to look worse.
and our caregivers
Agreed.
of our city and our state.
I think
Partnership and
we
collaboration.
kind of like I said
we see
last
how
night,
much we can accomplish
we're
when we
going to
work
see a
together.
test of Biden's kind of
We are
mental.
particularly proud of our
capabilities.
partnership with Case
Well, he has his
Western
ice cream,
University.
so I think
With
he'll probably
that,
be
I
fine.
would like to
Right.
introduce my
Wait, that
colleague
wasn't a joke?
Bro, that was a real tweet that he
Case
tweeted.
Western Reserve University.
I thought for sure that was a meme that somebody changed. That's
No,
incredible.
that's absolutely real.
I think that, again, like I said last night, Trump is going to be on the attack the entire time.
Delighted to show you the spectacular
Normally,
space we
when you
created
have
together.
kind of like an incumbent
Research has
president
long
who
shown
is
that team-based
overseeing
healthcare
like
leads to
economic
better outcomes for
disaster,
patients. Yet nearly
global
every
pandemic,
academic institution
not
continues to
unrelated,
prepare students in separate
mass
buildings,
protests, you would kind of
literally in
expect
silos.
the challenger to
Yet
be on
after
attack
spending
and
years
kind of,
learning only with
obviously
students from
forcing
same
the incumbent to
profession,
defend his
doctors
record.
with doctors, nurses with nurses,
And that's
so
that would
on.
be
They are
obviously
suddenly
that would be the thing for
expected to know
Biden to
how
do
to
tonight,
work
and we're
in
gonna I guess
teams
we're gonna see if
once
he's
they get their
capable of that.
diplomas.
But my prediction
We knew
is
there had to
that
be a better
that
way,
might not
and
end
together
up
we built
being
it.
how things
That's
pan out.
definitely
When
not
not filled
gonna
with a
happen.
stage
We'll see.
and seats, this atrium gives hundreds of
Yeah, it'd be
students
nice.
a huge open space
would be
to
nice.
study, talk,
Well, I mean, like,
and
the
simply be
Dems are
together.
not doing a good job
entire
of, like,
building
doing the
provides
thing they should do,
multiple
which is
spaces
criticizing
for
the
them to
record
come
of the
together,
goddamn incumbent.
supported
It's
by
like,
an academic
Right.
model that emphasizes opportunities.
And
to
honestly, I
learn
feel like
with
even within the
and
media,
from one another.
COVID is not
Add
talked about as
state-of-the-art
much.
technology.
Yeah,
and
I
we
mean,
know
because it's
our
not real, bro.
graduates will be uniquely prepared to excel
But
in
it's
team-based
not
care.
it's
Shut
not
up,
getting
dude.
Ultimately,
it's not
to
getting
lead it.
better.
Along
No.
the way,
I think it's
Case
just-
Western Reserve also learned from one another.
The problem is that like
Among
if they
the most
actually wanted to
valuable
do anything about
lessons
it, they would have to
was that
like
through collaboration,
stab the
we
people in the
achieved
back who are
far
paying the
more than
bills,
either
which
of
they're
us
not gonna
could
do.
achieve alone. Thank you, Tom, for
You-
being
you
such
mean-
a wonderful colleague and
You
friend.
mean in terms of business
Thank
interests?
you to the commission.
Yeah,
for
business
giving both
interests
of our
and like pharmaceutical
organizations
interests, right?
the
And the health
opportunity to
insurance
be
industry.
part of
Like,
this historic
and also
event.
like, you know,
It is
like
a
if they were
true
advocating for a
privilege to
lockdown
contribute
in
to
the
our
the
nation's
restaurant industry,
democratic
Amazon,
process.
Right.
And thank
Like,
you all for
and
volunteering.
and a way more substantial stimulus package, right?
Yeah,
Which
like-
is it seems to be out of the question.
You know that for a brief period after the initial $1,200 check,
Tom and
it was
Barbara,
the
very much.
most successful, single
valuable
most
player,
successful
award for this
anti-poverty
evening goes
program
to
in U.S.
Toby
history.
Cosgrove.
$1,200.
Thank you.
Wow.
Single most successful.
One
Like,
Really makes you
housekeeping
think.
bit for the audience.
people just
as soon
need
as this
money.
debate is over, if you will please remain seated, you
Yeah.
will be
I mean, I
shown
know that
which
like
way
obviously
to
we had talked
exit.
about Markey, right? Markey
And please stay where you are
and
until
Sanders
that
have
happens.
both
I
supported
would like to now introduce Chris
more
Wallace,
generous
the moderator
package
of
with
this
like a
evening's
monthly
debate.
payment of like around 2,000 or
It's $2,000.
Yeah.
And it's retroactive to March.
right. Yeah, that's what people need.
Yeah.
But you know,
Exactly. But no, they're not going to give it to them because, like,
Right.
why would they? Right?
yeah. And so in a
Oh.
way, I think the media is just sort of doing its job of not being too critical of the of like obviously members of Congress and the president for abdicating responsibility of protecting people from a deadly virus.
Fucking I did. I mean, like, I don't know. The messaging on Trump versus Biden is hard, right? Because like Bernie Sanders was out there being like, "Oh, we have to have to get rid of Trump for the following 10 reasons," and literally every single one also applied to Biden. Literally every
Sure.
single one. You know,
Yep.
it's like he's a warmonger. Like, yeah. No. You know, he has like sexual assault allegations. Like, yeah, you know.
Yeah.
That's not to say, like, I know that in my opinion, like Trump is worse, but
Right. Yeah, definitely.
you know,
But Biden was not the safe option that people thought he was.
no,
Right.
I don't believe that people actually thought. Well, a small amount of people, I think, thought he was a safe option.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to say with that, I guess, right?
It is.
It certainly felt like it was the media consensus and the consensus of like the Democratic Party.
Definitely. Well, I mean, that was the messaging they were using. I don't know if that was actually the
Definitely.
consensus. You know,
Sure.
like I don't think we should take that at face value.
Well, no, I'm just saying that was the consensus among that group, and that they wanted to also be the consensus of the public, right? And I think it worked. I think it did work actually, because I think a lot of people did or do feel that way still.
Definitely. Yeah. No, I mean, I think you're right. I think that like it's like manufacturing consent. You know,
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
what Chomsky is talking about, right? It's like the media all collaborates on a narrow bounds of debate, and we all debate within that, and like then we all agree on at least the things they want us to do.
And that'll be on full display tonight.
It will be. Look for Biden calling for anarchists to be arrested.
Yep.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
We're ready for bingo. Oh, and also just to make sure everyone's aware, bingo's going to be happening, but there is one special rule for the night, which is that if Trump, it's kind of two parts, right? If he accuses Biden of something to do with having dementia or something like that, and he also uses the words, "A lot of people are saying it, I would never say it." If he uses those exact words, I automatically win bingo. Because
definitely,
it's possible. We'll see, and that will be very fun.
It really is. Okay, that's yours, Tyler.
Yeah.
If the let me think. Okay, if the Sun debate comes up, if they talk about Don Jr. debating Hunter Biden, I win the debate. TJ, what's your call?
Okay, but you have to have.
Okay,
mine
specific?
Mine has 12 words. That's 12
Okay.
words that are required.
Okay. Fair. So mine is specifically the specific situation needs to be that Trump brings it up. Biden says, hell no. Trump continues to advocate for the idea of a sun debate for, I'm going to say 5 seconds. 5 seconds. He goes on a short tirade about how they should totally have a sun debate. Some people are saying it.
People are saying it.
People are saying it. Yeah.
A lot of people are saying it. I would never say it.
I would never say it, but some people are saying it. So that's mine. If that happens, then I will.
Okay.
Mine is if Trump refers to his daughter as hot on live television.
Oh my God. Okay. I don't think that will be happening.
I think that might be the most likely one. Actually.
That's what's going on backstage right now, but not. I don't think that.
Dude, like, okay, you're telling me you cannot imagine him being like, oh yes, and like my lovely daughter Ivanka, so beautiful.
She's very hot.
You would
Some
say
people,
that,
I
but
would
he
never
was-
say that. Some people are saying it.
You saying hot specifically? He has to call her hot.
He has to say hot.
He won't say hot. That's not gonna happen.
We'll see, bro. I have an inside source.
Oh.
I'm plugged in.
Is it Jared Kushner? Are you in
I
Jared
Project
Kushner
Veritas this shit. How many people are there, you think?
At Project Veritas?
No, at the debate.
It's the staff. Project Veritas.
I mean, I would say there are, in terms of audience members, there are 125.
Kind of a whack turnout.
Yeah, the whole social distancing thing, you know? But you're not wrong.
Me and Tyler have played bigger shows than this.
Yeah, who are these fucking noobs? Their first show.
Fucking locals.
Fucking locals, dude.
What is happening right now? There's just nothing happening, right?
Biden and Trump both had fucking heart attacks backstage.
Oh my
God. We're gonna bring out Pence and Kamala.
Oh, here we go. Nope. That was anticlimactic. The camera change was anticlimactic.
Why are they letting fucking Chris Wallace debate this shit? Like,
dude, that was a major concession by the Democrats. They got a Fox News commentator to run the debate. Are you serious?
Joe Rogan.
Is like fucking like is like Rachel Maddow gonna do the next?
Yeah, like are you serious? Like,
yeah.
Chris Matthews, like he is not the worst Fox.
No, he's not. He's not.
Good evening
Person,
from the
who
Health
gives a shit,
Education
you know? This is
campus of Case
gonna be a
Western Reserve
goddamn
University and the Cleveland Clinic.
Murder.
I'm Chris Wallace of Fox News, and I welcome you to the first of the 2020 presidential debates between President Donald J. Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden. This debate is sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates. The commission has designed the format.
Not a lot of people know that.
Roughly 15-minute
That's a Sheeples Army exclusive. Biden does not have a middle name.
Then open discussion for the rest of each.
Because he wasn't born in the U.S.
Both campaigns have agreed to these rules.
I want to see the certificate.
For the record, I decided.
Yeah, it's weird. No one's doing the birtherism with
questions
Biden.
in
You know
each
why do you
topic,
think that is?
I can assure you, none
Weird.
of the questions has been shared with the
Real
commission
head scratcher.
or the two candidates.
I want to
This
say
debate
they
is being
did with
conducted under
Kamala.
health and
Kamala.
safety
They did.
protocols
They already did with
right?
Kamala.
by
Yeah.
the Cleveland Clinic,
Weird,
which is
right?
serving as the health security advisor to the commission for all four debates. As a precaution, both campaigns have agreed the candidates will not shake hands at the beginning of tonight's debate. The audience here in the hall has promised to remain silent. No cheers, no boos or other
So
interruptions.
boring.
So
They promise.
we, and
They
more
promise.
importantly, you can focus on what the candidates have to say. No noise except right now, as we welcome the Republican nominee, President Trump, and the Democratic nominee, Vice President
All right,
Biden.
I'll bite.
I'll bite. Who is this Trump guy? Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Fuck yeah, dude.
How you doing, man? How are you? I'm well.
If you are just tuning in,
Gentlemen,
the debate is getting ready to
A lot of people
start.
have been waiting for this night, so let's get going. Our first subject is the Supreme Court. President Trump, you nominated Amy Coney Barrett over the weekend.
He could barely
to
even remember her name.
succeed the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg
most
on the
basic name.
court. you say the Constitution is clear about your obligation and the Senate's to consider a nominee to the court. Vice President Biden, you say that this is an effort by the president and Republicans to jam through an appointment.
Sorry, I was having
in what
technical
you call
difficulties in the form of
an
my
abuse of
4-year-old
power.
daughter.
My first question to both of you tonight: why are you right in the argument you make, and your opponent wrong? And where do you think a Justice Barrett would take the court? President Trump, in this first segment, you go first. 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Chris. I will tell you very simply, we won the election. Elections have consequences.
Not the popular vote.
We have the Senate, we have the White House, and we have a phenomenal
does not
nominee,
look good right
respected by all, top academic.
He doesn't what, Justin?
Good in
He's
every
not looking
way.
good.
Good in every
No,
way.
he doesn't.
In fact, some of her biggest endorsers are very liberal
Just got
people.
tired.
The Federalist
Notre
Society
Dame and other
type
places.
of
So
liberal.
I think she's going to be fantastic. We have plenty of time.
For what
Even if
it's
we did
worth,
it
I think the
after
Republicans are
election itself.
playing
I have
this
a
whole
lot of
thing
time
smartly.
after the
They're
election,
just like
as you
playing
know. So
for
I
power.
think that she will be
Right.
I think
outstanding.
they're
She's going to
horrible
be
people for it.
as good
We're being
as
smart.
anybody that has served on that court. We really feel that.
Well, they
We
crossed
have a
off the
professor at Notre
identity
Dame, highly
box,
respected by all, said she's
and
the
Yeah,
single
that
greatest
pacified a
student
lot of
he's
the
ever had.
liberal
He's been a professor for a long
energy
time at a
around
great
this.
school.
They're like very purposefully.
And we
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
we won the election, and
Very
therefore we
civically.
have the right to choose her. And very few people knowingly would say otherwise. And by the way, the Democrats, they wouldn't even
That's
think about
maniac.
not doing it. If they had, the only difference is they'd try and do it faster. There's no way they would give it up. They had Merrick Garland, but the problem is they didn't have the election, so they were stopped. And probably that would happen
bird
in
almost
reverse
flew in
also.
my room.
Definitely would happen in reverse.
That would've sucked.
So we won the election, and we have the right to do it, Chris.
President Trump, thank you. Same question to you, Vice President Biden. You have 2 minutes.
Well, first of all, thank you for doing this, and looking forward
Oh
to this,
my
Mr.
God. Okay,
President.
whatever.
Dork.
The American people have a right to have a say in who the Supreme Court nominee is, and that say occurs when they vote for United States senators and when they vote for the President of the United States. They're not going to get that chance now because we're in the middle of an election already. The election has already started. Tens of thousands of people have already voted. And so the thing that should happen is we should wait. We should wait and see what the outcome of this election is, because that's the only way the American people get to
It's a
express
little
their
unnerving
view.
how
is
you can
by
only
who
kind
they
of see
elect
like
as
the
president
black
and who
part
they
of
elect as
Biden's
vice
eye.
president.
Yeah, I was just going to say he's kind of got
Now,
doll eyes.
What's at stake here is the president's made it clear
It's kind
he
of
wants to
creepy.
get rid of the Affordable Care Act.
That
He's been
does look
running on
pretty
that.
creepy.
He ran on that, and he's been
The
governing
Affordable
that.
Care Act is
He's in the
part of what they
Supreme
should
Court
definitely be
right now
running
trying to
on
get rid
right
of
now. at
Without
this
a
point.
fucking doubt, yeah.
Yeah,
Affordable Care Act.
that's
Which,
Or like
will
healthcare.
strip 20
just
in any
yeah. I mean,
sense,
but well, I'm
from
saying the
having
Affordable Care Act because we
insurance,
know
health
they're not going to
insurance
go
now,
with
if
Yeah.
Medicare
it goes
for
into
all or
court.
whatever.
True.
And
Yeah.
and
it is
the
pretty
justice,
pretty
and I have
popular now.
Nothing. I'm not.
Yeah, I
opposed to
mean,
the
literally
justice. She
tell.
seems
I
like a
mean,
very
yeah,
fine
millions
person.
of people are going to
But
lose
she's written before she went
healthcare
to the bench,
coverage.
which is her right. But
Point
she
blank.
thinks
I
that
mean-
the Affordable
Dude,
Care Act is not
Did
constitutional.
you hear that
The other thing that's on
Biden
the
just
court,
called
and
Amy
if it's
Coney
struck
Barrett a
down,
very
what
fine
happens?
person?
Women's rights are fundamentally
God.
changed.
Fuck
Once
this
again,
Of course, he did.
a woman could be pay more money because she
He
has a
anticipates
pre-existing
having to
condition of
work with her.
pregnancy. They were able to charge.
I
a
think
little
he just
more
doesn't
for
want
the
to
same
badmouth
exact
Republicans.
procedure
Because,
mandate.
like,
Yep,
Yes.
that's his thing.
And that ended when we, in fact, passed the Affordable Care Act. And there's 100 million people who have pre-existing conditions, and they'll be taken away as well. Those pre-existing conditions, the insurance companies are going to love this. And so it's just not appropriate to do this before this election.
And harp
If
on the
he
fact
wins
that
the
Republicans have
election
no
and the
plan
Senate
to
is
protect
Democrat or
pre-existing
Republican,
conditions.
then he
I don't
goes
know.
forward. If
I don't know
not,
a
we should
little
wait
bit.
until February. All right.
There aren't 100 million people with pre-existing conditions. As far as the say is concerned, the people already had their say. Okay, Justice Ginsburg
Nice.
said very powerfully, very
Fuck it up.
strongly, at some point, 10 years ago or so, she said a president and the Senate is elected for a period of time, but a president's elected for 4 years. We're not elected for 3 years. I'm not elected for 3 years.
this is the argument Obama
So
should
we
have
have
been
the
making.
Senate, we have a president.
He's elected to the next
During
election.
that
This is-
period,
this
is
of
an
time-
interesting-
during that
This
period
is an
of
interesting
time,
argument
we have an opening
for him.
I'm not elected for 3 years. I'm elected for 4 years.
The
And the
election's
100
already
million
started.
people, Joe, the 100 million people is totally wrong. I don't know where you got that number. The bigger problem that you have is that you're going to
he called him
extinguish
Jeb.
180 million
that?
people with their private health care, that they're very
That's
happy.
It did kind of sound like he said
Well,
that.
you're going to socialist.
Go
You're
ahead.
going to
This-
socialist
this is,
medicine.
we're now
Socialist
into,
medicine.
gentlemen, we're now
Is that
into
on the
open
bingo?
discussion.
Open discussion.
I really
bingo.
wish I had
Go
put
ahead,
that
Vice
up.
Number one, he knows that what I proposed. What I proposed is that we expand Obamacare and we increase it. We do not wipe any. And one of the big debates
Don't
we
wipe
had
anything.
with 23 of my colleagues trying to win the nomination that I won.
Expanding
were saying that
Obamacare
Biden wanted
is
to
kind of
allow
like
people
a-
to have private insurance.
It's almost kind of like a non-starter
They can.
after
They do.
the courts
They will.
have.
Fucking
Under my
pandemic.
proposal.
Now, what you said
Well, and after
is
the
not
courts
what
have
party
ruled
is
the
saying.
individual
simply-
Party
mandate
doesn't say your party
unconstitutional.
wants to go socialist
My
medicine.
party is
and
me.
socialist
Right
healthcare.
now, I am
and
the
they're going to
Democratic
dominate
Party.
you, Joe. You know that.
I am the Democratic Party right now. The platform of the
Not according
Democratic
to
Party
Harris.
is what I, in fact, approved of. What I approved of. Now, here's the deal. The deal is that it's going to wipe out.
We got one hit on the
And by
bingo
way,
card.
The
Nice.
20,
Which one?
200
Trump calls
million-
Biden a
200,000
socialist.
people that
Oh,
have
yeah.
died
Good,
on his
good.
watch. How many of those have survived? Well, there's 7 million people that contracted COVID. What does it mean for them going forward if you strike down the Affordable Care Act? And
Joe, you've had
pre-existing
308,000 military people dying because you couldn't provide them proper health care in the military. So don't tell me
I'm
about
happy
this.
to talk about
And
this.
if you were here,
Look,
it
here's
wouldn't
the
be
deal.
200, it would be 2 million people because you were very late on the draw. You
Late
didn't
on
want
the
me to
draw.
ban China, which was heavily infected. You didn't want me to ban
All right, we're
Senator,
gentlemen,
Europe,
we're-
which
no,
was heavily
Mr. President,
infected. You would have been
Mr.
much
President,
later, Joe.
Mr. President,
much later.
Mr. President.
You're talking about 2 million people.
You're not gonna be able to
President, as
shut
the
him up.
moderator, we are going to talk about COVID in the next segment, but go ahead.
Let me finish. The point is that the president
Let me
also
finish.
is opposed to Roe v. Wade. That's on the ballot as well in the court. And so that's also at stake right now. And so the election is already
You don't know it's on the
begun.
ballot. Why is it on the ballot?
Because
Why is
you
it on the
said
ballot? It's not
you're-
on the ballot.
It's on the ballot in the
I
court.
don't think so.
In the court. Well,
There's nothing happening there.
There's nothing
Donald,
And
happening
you
there.
don't know her view on
Not even a
Roe
ballot.
v. Wade. You
I
don't
don't
know her
know.
view.
Well, all right. Let's talk.
Why is it on the ballot?
We got a lot to unpack here, gentlemen. We got
Wait,
a
is
lot
he
of
talking
time,
about Roe
so-
v. Wade on
Yeah.
the ballot?
On health care, and then we'll come back to Roe v. Wade.
all right.
Mr. President, the Supreme Court will hear a case a week after the election in which the Trump administration, along with 18 state attorneys general, are seeking to overturn
That's right.
Obamacare, to end Obamacare. You have spent the last...
Because they want to
If
give
I-
good
if I-
health care.
If I
That's
may
such
ask
horseshit.
my
Oh
question.
my
Trump looks really tired.
Over the last 4 years, you have
Not enough
promised
adrenochrome.
to repeal and replace Obamacare, but you have never in these 4 years come
Yeah,
up with a
this
plan.
is a good question
A
from
comprehensive
Chris
plan
Yes,
to
I have.
replace Obamacare.
Of course I have.
Well, I'll
I
give
got
you an
rid of the
and when I
individual
finish,
mandate.
I'm going to give you an
Excuse me.
opportunity.
I got rid of the individual mandate, which was a
That is
big
not a
chunk of
comprehensive
That
plan.
is absolutely a big thing. That was the
I
worst
didn't
part of
ask,
Obamacare.
sir.
Chris,
You're
that was the
debating him,
worst
not
part
me.
of Obamacare.
Let me ask my
Well,
question.
I'll ask Joe. The
no,
individual
I-
mandate was the most unpopular
Mr. Vice Pre-
aspect of
Mr.
Obamacare. I
President,
got rid of it.
I'd like you, oh
my
I'm
God.
the moderator of this debate, and I would like you to let me ask my question, and then you can answer.
Go
your
ahead.
You, in the course of these 4 years, have never come up with a comprehensive plan to replace Obamacare.
He's doing a pretty good job
and
as a moderator.
Just
He
this
is.
last
Oh, no,
Thursday,
Chris Wallace is doing
you
good. I fucking hate you.
signed a
Like-
largely symbolic executive order to protect people with pre-existing conditions 5 days
can
before
handle
this
it.
debate. So my question, sir, is what is the Trump health care plan?
Let's hear it.
Well, first of all, I guess I'm debating you, not him, but that's okay. I'm not surprised. Let me just
Oh,
tell you
The
something.
moderator just
There's nothing
made that
symbolic.
joke.
I'm cutting drug prices. I'm going with favored nations, which no president has the courage to do because you're going against big pharma. Drug prices will be coming down 80 or 90%. You could have done it during your 47-year period in government, but you didn't do it. Nobody's done it. So we're cutting health care.
What about
All of the
pre-existing
things that
conditions?
we've done,
Yeah.
Not cut
insulin.
health
I give
care.
you an example. Insulin. It was destroying families, destroying
Insulin
people.
was
because
destroying families.
I'm getting it for so cheap. It's like water. You want to know the truth?
False.
So cheap. Take a look at
False.
all of the drugs that what
Fucking
we're doing,
false.
prescription
So-
drug prices.
insulin's
We're
so
going to allow
expensive.
our governors now to go to other countries to buy drugs because
When in
they
fact-
pay just a tiny fraction.
As I say,
of
this
what
is
we do.
open discussion.
No,
let
but
me
this
ask
is
you about,
big.
this
is
be happy,
big stuff.
sir. You'll be happy. I'm about to pick up on one of your points
You'll be happy.
to ask the vice president.
like,
which
okay,
is he
fine,
points
okay, I'll
out
stop.
that you would like to add a
be
public option to Obamacare. And
Yes.
the argument that he makes and other Republicans make is that that is going to end private insurance.
It is
and
not.
will, if I can
sorry.
ask you the question, it will
Not
end
what your party says, by the way.
It will
Oh, my
end
God.
private insurance and create a government takeover of health care.
It does not. It's only for those people who are so poor they qualify for Medicaid. They can get that free in most states, except governors who want to deny people who are poor Medicaid. Anyone who qualifies for Medicare would, Medicaid would automatically
awesome.
be enrolled in the public
Been on
option.
Medicaid. I
The
would highly
vast
recommend.
majority of the American
Yeah,
people
same.
would still not be
good.
in that option. Number one.
Joe, you
Number
agreed
two.
with Bernie
Number-
Sanders, who's
I
far
did-
left, on the manifesto.
Oh, the
Yeah,
manifesto.
That gives
That's
you
a good one.
socialized medicine.
Is that on bingo?
What is the
Listen,
manifesto?
The fact of the matter
Remember the
is,
Biden-Bernie
I beat
manifesto?
Sanders.
Not by much.
I beat him a whole hell of a lot.
Not by
I'm here
much.
standing facing.
I made the joke that it was
Oh,
the Kirkland.
Pocahontas, Pocahontas,
Pocahontas.
All he knows how to do.
I didn't
is-
expect that to come up.
Look,
very lucky.
here's the deal. I got very lucky. I'm going to get very lucky tonight as
Really?
well.
Andy
And
did
tonight
this.
I'm going to
With
make
what?
sure because
With what?
here's the deal. Here's the deal. The fact is that everything he's saying so far is simply a lie. I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
But you
I just
agree.
want to
Hey,
make
Joe,
sure.
Joe, you're the liar.
I want to make sure.
Graduated last in your class.
Damn.
I want to make
Mr.
sure.
President, can you let him finish, sir?
Joe
He didn't know
Biden,
how
or
to
Trump
do
did
that.
not graduate
He has-
first in his
You'd be
class.
surprised.
Fuck off. Like,
You pick
You'd be surprised.
the
Go ahead,
wrong
Joe.
guy.
You'd be
the wrong
surprised.
night at the wrong
The
time.
person he
Wrong
hired to
guy.
take
Here's the
Bernie
deal.
the
Sanders
person he
said
hired to
the
take
whole
all his
idea-
exams
Let him-
did graduate.
There
first.
is no manifesto. Number
Please
one.
let him speak,
Fuck
Mr.
yeah,
Number
dude.
two.
You just lost the left.
You know that he's like
I,
threatened
You
to
just
sue
lost the
Penn.
left. You agreed
Yeah,
with
shit.
Bernie Sanders on a plan.
folks,
that's absolutely
folks,
agreed
do you have
to,
any
and under that
idea
plan,
what
you have
this clown's
socialized,
doing?
They call it
Mr.
Clown?
You
Mr.
have any
President,
Wow,
idea?
nice.
socialized medicine.
Mr.
I'll
President,
tell you
really
what,
making himself
he
just look
is
like a
not
fool.
for any
True.
help for people needing
Well, and
health
also Biden didn't agree on Medicare for
because
all.
he, in
I
fact, already
Famously,
has cost
like- Yeah.
10 million people their health care that they had from their employers because of his recession. Number one. Number two,
yeah.
there are 20 million people getting health care through Obamacare now that he wants to take it away. He won't ever look you in the eye and say that's what he wants to do. Take it away.
No, I want to give
Number
them better
three.
health care at a much lower price
But-
because
and by the way,
Obamacare
he doesn't
is
know
no
how.
good.
He doesn't know how
I've
to do
already
that.
fixed it.
He has
fixed
never
it.
offered
already
a
fixed
plan.
it to an extent.
He has never
Obamacare,
done a
as you
single
might
thing.
know, but probably don't.
Gentlemen, you
is
realize
no
if you're
good,
both
Joe.
speaking at the
It's no
same
good,
time,
and it's too expensive.
let the president go ahead, sir.
Obamacare is no good. We made it better, and I had a choice to make very early on. We took away
Who
the
believes
individual
this?
mandate. We guarantee pre-existing conditions, but
what
took
the
away the
program
individual
rests on,
mandate.
is the individual mandate.
Listen,
It
this
does.
is the way it is.
But I mean, like, who
And
believes
that
that he made
destroyed-
anything better?
That,
Like,
They
Right.
shouldn't even call it Obamacare. Then I had a choice to make. Do I let my people run it really well or badly? If I run
Yeah,
it
the
badly,
choice.
they'll probably
I had a
blame me,
choice,
but they'll
good
blame me, but
or
more
bad.
importantly-
Usually I choose
I said,
good.
you got to run it so well.
Is this
And
what-
I just
is this
had a
what
meeting
good
with
looks
them.
like,
They said
though?
the problem
I
is
had
no
my
matter
people
how
run it
well
goodly.
you run Obamacare, it's a disaster.
And
It's
that's
too
why it's such a
expensive.
huge success.
Premiums
I
are
got
too
it.
high, and
That's
it
what his
doesn't work.
people- that's what
So
his people
we
said.
we do
No,
want to
no,
get
no.
rid of it.
It's
Chris,
an
we
open-
want to get rid of it.
I
and
understand
give
it, sir,
something
but I
that's
have to
cheaper and
give you
better.
roughly equal time.
Good.
Please let the vice president talk.
Good.
He has no plan for health care. Of
course we do.
He sends out wishful thinking. He has executive orders that have no power. He hasn't lowered drug costs for anybody. He's been promising a health care plan since he got elected. He has none, like almost everything else he talks about. He does not have a plan.
Nice.
He doesn't have a plan. And the fact is, this man doesn't know what he's talking about.
All right,
He's
I have
against
one final question for you,
Sure.
Mr. Vice President. If Senate Republicans, we were talking originally about the Supreme Court here, if Senate Republicans go ahead and confirm Justice Barrett, there has been talk about ending the filibuster or even packing the court, adding to the 9 justices there. You call this a distraction by the president, but in fact, it wasn't brought up by the president. It was brought up by some of your Democratic colleagues in the Congress. So my question to you is, you have refused in the past to talk about it. Are you willing to tell the American people tonight whether or not you will support either ending the filibuster or
They wanted to get him on the
packing
record.
court?
Whatever
I think he's gonna
position I
win.
take on that, that'll become the issue. The issue is the American people should speak. You should go out and vote. You're in voting now. Vote and let your senators know how
Are you gonna
strongly
pack
you
the
feel.
court?
Vote now.
gonna pack the
Make
court?
sure you, in fact, let people know
He doesn't wanna
your
answer the
senators.
question. He
doesn't wanna
I'm not going to
answer
answer the question
Why
because
wouldn't you answer that
because
question?
the
You wanna
question
put a
is
lot of
the
new
question
Supreme Court
is
justices,
the
radical
question-
left.
The thing is,
Who
why
was it?
respond to him?
Who
Oh,
was
he
it
said,
on
"You
the
shut
list,
up,
Joe?
man."
This
Was
is
that on
so-
the?
All right.
Gentlemen,
This is-
I think
This
we've
is
ended
so
this.
He's going to pack the
unprecedented.
court.
That
We have
needs to go.
not going to give a list.
We have ended
this is-
this
come on.
segment. We're going to move on to the second
Pretty close.
segment.
That was really a
Would you shut up, man?
wasn't it?
Shut.
Keep yapping, man.
The people understand, Joe. 47 years you've done nothing. They understand.
All right. The second subject is COVID-19, which is an awfully serious subject, so let's try to be serious about it. We have had more than 7 million cases of coronavirus in the United States, and more than 200,000 people have died. Even after we produce a vaccine, experts say that it could be months or even years before we come back to anything approaching normal. My question for both of you is, based on what you have said
Just shut up, man.
and done so far, and what
Dude, I
you have
can't
said you
believe he
would
said
do
keep
starting
yapping,
in
man.
2021, why should the
Biden said
American
that?
people
Yeah, he
trust
did. You missed
more
it.
than
I missed it, dude.
your
Keep
opponent
yapping.
to deal with this
I
public health crisis going
I was
forward?
expecting Biden
In
to
this
look worse.
case,
He's looking pretty good.
the
Dude,
question
he's
goes
doing pretty
to you
good.
first, sir. 2
I
minutes
think only because
uninterrupted.
Trump is making himself look so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's trying to be too
200,000
aggressive.
dead. As you said, over 7 million infected in the United States. We, in fact, have 5%, 4% of the world's population.
Well, and that's why I think we
20%
are
of
going
the
to see
deaths.
Trump get more kind of
40,000
unhinged as
people a day
the
are
night goes
contracting
on. I
COVID.
think because
yeah.
In
he
addition to that,
knows.
about
I mean, it
between
just
750
started,
and
like-
1,000
Right.
people
This is
a
how
Yeah.
fucking
day.
Yeah.
crazy it is.
Well,
When he
did you
was
see how
presented with that
reserved he
number,
was at the
said,
beginning?
"It is
Oh, yeah.
what it is.
And then already it's
Or
kind of
it is
starting
what it is
to, you
because
know.
you are
Get
who
to
you
him.
are.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why it is. The president has no plan. He hasn't laid out anything. He knew all the way back in February how serious this crisis was. He knew it was a deadly disease. What did he do? He's on tape as acknowledging he knew it. He said he didn't tell us or give people a warning of it because he didn't want to panic the American people. You don't panic. He panicked. In addition to that, what did he do?
That was pretty good,
He
yeah.
went in and we were insisting that the Chinese, the people we had on the ground in China should be able to go to Wuhan
He
and
stopped
determine
himself
for
from saying
themselves
something stupid.
how dangerous this was. He did
See how
not
long
even
that
ask
lasts.
Xi to do that. He told us what a great job Xi was doing. He said we owe him a debt of gratitude for being
We
so
do.
transparent with
We
us.
do.
And what did he do then?
What the fuck,
He then
Biden?
did nothing. He waited and waited and waited. He still doesn't have a plan. I laid out
Sir,
back
just
in
two
March
Xi Jinping fucking killed
exactly
us. Look
what
at how
we
many
should be
cases are in
doing.
China now.
And I laid out again in July what we should be doing. We should be providing all the protective gear possible. We should be providing the money the House has passed in order to be able to go out and get people the help they need to keep their businesses open schools. It costs a lot of money. You should get out of your bunker and get out of the sand trap and get in your golf course and go in the Oval Office and bring together the Democrats and Republicans and fund what needs to be done now to save lives.
So if we would have listened to
You have 2 minutes, sir.
if we would have listened to you, the country would have been left wide open. Millions of people would have died, not 200,000. And one person is too much. It's China's fault. It should have never happened. They stopped it from going in, but it was China's
global
fault. And by the way, when
pandemic.
you talk about numbers, you don't know how many people died in China. You don't know how many people died in Russia. You don't know how many people died in India. They don't exactly give you a straight count, just so you understand.
This
But
is
if you
Putin's
look at what
messenger
we've
here.
done, I closed it, and you said he's xenophobic. He's a racist, and he's xenophobic because you didn't think I should
unrelated
have
to
closed
your
our country.
COVID.
No,
Wait a
sir,
minute.
It's his 2 minutes.
You didn't think we should have closed our country because you thought it was terrible. You wouldn't have closed it for another 2 months. By my doing it early, in fact, Dr. Fauci said, President Trump saved thousands of lives. Many of your Democrat governors said, President Trump did a phenomenal job. We worked with the governor. Oh, really? Go take a look. The governors said I did a phenomenal job. Most of them said that. In fact, people that would not be necessarily on my side said, President
Weren't
Trump
all
did
the
a
governors
phenomenal
like,
job.
can we please
did.
have some
We got the
PPE?
gowns, we got the
Yeah.
masks,
And they were like,
we made
why
the
don't you fight
ventilators. You
for
wouldn't
it?
have made
With the
that.
fucking
Jared-
little memes
and
or
then
like
Jared-
cancer out.
From a
And then
vaccine.
Jared Kushner
We're
was like,
doing
"That's
therapeutics
our
already.
federal
Fewer
stockpile."
people are dying
Yeah,
when they get
exactly,
sick.
dude,
Far
exactly.
fewer people are dying.
Who do you think that
We've done a
belongs
great
to?
job.
They
the only
made
thing I
states
haven't
bid
done a
for
good
it.
job, and that's because of the fake news. No matter what you say to them, they give you bad press on it. It's just fake news. They
More
give
fake
you
news.
good press. They give me bad press.
There we go.
Because that's the way it is, unfortunately. But let me just tell you something. I don't care. I've gotten used to it. But I'll
I
tell
don't
you,
care.
Joe, you could
I'm
never
over
have
it.
done the job.
seems
that we
like
did.
he's
you
not,
don't have it in your
he
blood.
doesn't
You could
care
have never
about
done
it.
that job.
I know how to do the job. I know how to get the job
Well, you didn't do
done.
very well in swine flu. H1N1, you were a disaster. Your own
Damn,
chief
I wish I had
said
put
you were a
swine flu
disaster.
on
14,000 people
That should
died, not
happen.
200,000. There was
A
no
very-
economic recession.
Sir, you made a
Far
there was no
less lethal
recession.
disease,
you made
by
a
the way.
point. Let him answer it.
And there was we didn't shut down the economy. This is his economy he's shut down. The reason it's shut down is because, look, you folks at home, how many of you got up this morning and had an empty chair at the kitchen table because someone died of COVID? How many of you were in a situation
better
where
prep.
you lost your mom or dad and you couldn't even speak to them? You had a nurse holding a phone up so you could, in fact, say goodbye.
You would have lost far
How
more
many
people.
Oh, my
far
God.
more people.
And
You would have been.
And by the way,
months late.
your own
You were
his
months
his
behind
own
me,
his
Joe.
own
looks
CDC
bad for
director
Trump.
says
This is not a good
we could
look.
lose as many as another 200,000 people between
Not
now and
empathetic.
the end of the year. And he held up. He said, if we just wear a mask, we can save half those numbers. Just a mask.
Right.
And by the way, in terms of the whole notion of a vaccine. We're for a vaccine, but I don't trust him at all, nor do you. I know you don't. What we trust is a scientist.
You don't
we
trust
Dr.
Johnson
Fauci.
& Johnson, Pfizer?
And
no.
by the way,
Gentlemen,
and
gentlemen,
then-
let me move on to.
Not at all.
Did you
Why
say
isn't Chris
Johnson &
Wallace
Johnson?
giving Trump
Both have
shit?
touched on
What you
one
say,
of the,
TJ?
two
Did
of
you say
the questions
Johnson
I'm
&
going to
Johnson?
ask.
Yeah, and Pfizer.
Focusing on the future first, President
shampoo
Trump,
company?
you have repeatedly
Well, it's a drug
either
manufacturer
contradicted or
as
been
well.
I'm sure they
advised
fucking
by
make
some of
tear
your
gas
government's
and
own
shit,
top
too.
scientists. The week before last,
Probably.
the head of the Centers for Disease Control, Dr. Redfield, said it would be summer before the vaccine would become generally available to the public. You said that he was confused and mistaken. Those were your two words.
Yeah.
But Dr. Slawi, the head of your Operation Warp Speed, has said exactly the same thing.
Operation
Are they
Warp
both
Speed.
wrong?
Well, I've spoken to the companies, and we can have it a lot sooner. It's a very political
dumb.
thing because people like this would
Very
rather
political.
make it political than save lives.
God.
It is a very political thing. I've spoken to Pfizer. I've spoken to.
You should
all the
usually
people that
trust
you have to speak to. We have
corporations,
great
and their
Moderna,
representatives
Johnson
over
& Johnson,
Dr. Pfizer.
and others.
Scientists.
They can go faster than that by a lot.
Definitely.
You tell me they're going to let you
Very
have a little.
political.
They're like-
now.
the left, or I don't know.
We
if
can
it's
make a
left
ton
or
of money
right.
off this.
Head of
Oh,
your
I mean,
Operation Warp Speed,
we can
Dr.
get the
Slawi.
vaccine out very
Yeah,
quickly.
No, I
sir.
disagree with both of them. And he didn't say that. He said it could be there, but it could also be much sooner. I had him in my office 2 days ago.
He talked about the summer, sir, before it's generally available. Just like
He said
Dr.
it's a
Redfield.
possibility that we'll have
You know?
the answer
Chris
before
Wallace was a good choice.
November 1st. It could also
I'm
be
talking
after.
He's actually
that.
doing very well.
Yeah, I'll eat my
we're
hat on this
delivered
one.
right away. We have the
choice.
military all set up. Logistically, they're all set up. We have our military that delivers soldiers, and they can do 200,000 a day. They're going to be
This is
delivering
the
the
same
vaccine.
man
they
that
It's
deliver
all
told
set
you
up.
by Easter this would be gone away. By the warm weather, it'd be gone. Miraculous, like a miracle. And by the way, maybe you could inject some bleach in your arm, and that would take care of it. This is the same
I
man.
said sarcastically.
That was
you
him.
know that.
I-
I
that
would
was
have said sarcastic.
And so here's the deal. This
Yeah,
man
that
is
was
talking
lit.
about a
That was
vaccine.
God damn.
Every serious company is talking about maybe having a vaccine done by the end of the year. But the distribution of that vaccine will not occur until sometime beginning or the middle of next
he
year
really
to
just
get
say
it
that was a
out.
joke?
If we get the vaccine. And pray God we will. Pray God we will.
Mr. Vice President, I want to pick up
You'll have
on
the
that.
vaccine
I
sooner
want to
than
pick
that.
up on this question, though. You say the public can trust the scientists, but they can't trust President Trump. In fact, you said that again tonight. Your running mate, Senator Harris, goes further, saying the public health experts, quote, will be muzzled, will be suppressed. Given the fact that polls already show that people are concerned about the vaccine and are reluctant to take it, are you and your running mate, Senator Harris, contributing to that fear?
No more than the question you just asked him. You pointed out. He puts pressure and disagrees with his own scientists.
But you're saying
Everybody
you can't, or
knows.
Senator
And-
Harris is saying
no,
you can't trust the scientists.
No. You can trust the scientists. She didn't say that. You can't trust
She
the
said the public health
Did say
experts,
that.
quote, will be muzzled, will be
Anti-vax.
Yes.
suppressed.
We got another one.
That's what he's going to try to do. But there's millions of scientists, there's thousands of scientists out there, like here at this great hospital, that don't work for him. Their job doesn't depend on him. That's not. They're the people. And by
I
the way,
spoke to the
and Fauci,
scientists that are in
and
charge.
by the way,
they will have
and
the vaccine very soon.
Tomorrow.
Do you believe for
It's
a
going to get
moment
Amazon to you.
what
I have
he's
an announcement.
telling you, in light of
Yeah.
all the
I have an
lies he's
announcement
told
to
you
make.
about the whole issue relating to COVID. He still hasn't even acknowledged that he knew this was happening, knew how dangerous it was going to be back in February, and he didn't even tell you. He's on record as saying it. He panicked, or he just looked at the stock market.
Wow, yeah.
One of the two. Because
Biden
guess
is
what? A
clowning
lot
on
of
him
people
right now.
die.
Yeah.
And a lot more are going to die unless he gets a lot smarter, a lot quicker.
So-
Mr. President?
Did you use the word smart? So you said you went to Delaware State, but you forgot the name of your college. You didn't go to Delaware State. You graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me. Don't ever use that word.
Oh, give me a break.
Because you know what?
Give me a break,
There's
man.
nothing smart about you, Joe. 47 years you've done nothing.
Well, let's have this debate.
And if
We'll
you
see.
would have had, let me just say this. If you would have had
Nice.
the charge of what I was put through, I had to close the greatest economy in the history of our country. And by the way, now it's being built again.
see,
and
he-
it's
We're going to
going
get
up
to the
fast.
economy in the next segment, sir.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
going up fast.
Okay.
Look forward to it.
When it comes to how the virus has been handled so far, the two of you have taken very different approaches, and this is going to affect how the virus is handled going forward by whichever of you ends up becoming the next president. I want to quickly
God
go
damn.
through several of those. Reopenings.
Shout out to
Vice
Biden.
President Biden, you have been much more reluctant
Surprising.
than President Trump
Definitely.
about reopening the economy and schools. Why, sir?
Because he doesn't have a plan. If I were running, I know what the plan is. You've got to provide these businesses the ability to have the money to be able to reopen with the PPE as well as with the sanitation they need. You have to provide
that
them
to Nancy
plastic.
Pelosi.
Well, he's just shushing now.
Tell it to Nancy
The-
Pelosi.
God.
And
Oh,
Schumer,
By the
Ryan
way,
Chuck.
Nancy Pelosi and Schumer, they have a plan. He won't even meet with them. The Republicans won't meet with him in the
Okay.
Senate.
But-
And he sits on his golf course. And, well, I mean, literally,
Okay.
think about it.
You probably play
Think
more than
about
I
it.
do, Joe.
What about this question of reopening?
Sounds like Jeb to me.
He
Sounds
wants
like
to
Jeb.
shut down this country. And I want to keep it open. And we
You
did
ju-
a
he
great
just
thing by
admitted
shutting
he
it
shut
down.
it down.
Wait a minute,
Let
Joe.
him
Let me
finish,
shut
sir.
you down for a second, Joe, just for 1 second.
Nice.
We want to. He wants
That's
to
not
shut down
funny.
the country.
Why'd you
We just
laugh at
went
that?
through it.
That's
We had
kinda
to because
funny.
we didn't know anything about the disease. Now we found that elderly people with heart problems and diabetes and different problems are very, very vulnerable. We learned a lot. Young children aren't.
Even though I said
younger
they
people
were.
aren't. We've learned a lot. But he wants to
Young
shut
chil-
it down.
he said young children
More
aren't
people
vulnerable.
will be hurt
Yeah, that's
by
what he said at the
continuing. If you
beginning,
look
yeah.
at
That's what he just
Pennsylvania,
said
if you look
again.
at certain states,
Oh, is that
have
what he
been
was saying
shut down.
again?
They have Democrat governors all.
I thought he said
One of the
aren't.
reasons they're shut down is because they want to keep it shut down until
No, I
after
said
the
aren't.
election
All
on
right.
November
I want to
3rd.
move on to another
because
subject.
it's a
I want to
political
move on to another
thing.
I gotta
subject.
respond.
But those states,
Gentlemen, I
those
want to move
states
on to
are
another
not
subject.
doing well that are shut down
Which is
right
gotta
now.
now.
respond to that.
Wants to
President
shut
Trump,
down the
you
whole
have
country.
begun to increasingly question the effectiveness of masks as a disease preventer. And in fact, recently you have cited the issue of waiters touching their masks and touching plates. Are you questioning
That's what's
the
wrong.
Masks
Efficacy
are
of-
okay.
of
You have to
masks?
understand.
Look at
if you
Biden's
look,
smirk
I
on
have
his
a mask
fucking face
here.
right now.
I'll put a mask on when I think I need it. Tonight, as an example, everybody's had a test, and you've had social distancing and all of the things that you have to. But I
Just
wear
like your
masks
rallies.
when needed. When needed, I wear masks.
Okay, let me ask.
I don't wear masks like him. Every time you see him, he's got a mask. He could be speaking 200 feet away from it. He shows up with the biggest mask I've ever seen. I will say,
Every time he's
Vice
talking to
President
people,
Biden,
he's
go
wearing a
ahead, sir.
mask. Look at this loser.
The way to open businesses is give them the wherewithal to be able to open. We provided money. The Congress.
But I was asking you, sir, about masks.
Well, masks make a big difference. His own head of the CDC said if we just wore masks between now, everybody wore masks in social distance between now and January, we'd probably save up to 100,000 lives. It matters.
And they've also
It
said the
matters.
opposite. They've
And
also said
no,
the opposite.
no serious person said the opposite.
They've
no
also said, well, look
serious.
at,
all right, I wanna
Dr.
ask you-
Fauci. Dr. Fauci said the
He
opposite.
did not
I
say
want to
the
ask you, we got
He
a
said
little
very
bit more than a
strongly,
minute left
Yes,
in this
masks
he
segment.
are
changed
not
his
good.
opinion
Then he
based on
changed his
new
mind. He
data.
said masks are good.
I
I'm
wanna
okay
ask-
with masks.
I
I'm
want to
not
ask you
fighting
both
masks.
about one last subject because your different approaches has even affected the way that you have campaigned. President Trump, you're holding large rallies with crowds packed together, thousands of people.
Outside.
Outside, yes, sir, agreed. Vice President Biden, you are holding much smaller events with
Because nobody will show up.
people with.
Well, it's true. Nobody shows up to his rallies.
All right. In any case, why you holding the big rallies? Why you not? You go first, sir.
Because people want to hear what I have to say. I mean,
But are you
I've
not
done a
worried
great
about it
job
spreading
as a
disease?
president, and I'll have 25, 35,000 people show up at airports. We use airports.
Are you
and
not worried
hangars.
about
We have a
disease
lot of
issues,
people.
sir?
Well, so
Trump has a
far
lot
we
of
have had
airports.
no problem whatsoever. It's outside. That's a big difference, according to the experts.
According to
And we
the-
do them outside. We have tremendous crowds, as you see. I mean, and literally on 24
I want
hours
him to say
notice.
that
That's
no
the
Trump
fuck-
Joe
supporter
does
has
the
ever gotten
circles and
COVID.
has
That's
3
what I want
people
to hear.
someplace.
Okay.
By the way, did you
This-
see
me, you will
one of the
win.
last big rallies he had? And a reporter came up to him to ask him a question. He said, no, stand back. Put on your mask. Put on a mask. Have you been tested? I'm way
did.
far away from those other people. That's what he said. I can't. I'm going to be okay. He's not worried about you. He's not worried about the people out there breathing in one another.
We've had no
They're
negative
cheek to
effect.
jowl. No negative effect.
We've had no
He's like
negative
this
effect.
close
We've
to
had
saying it. I know he
35,
wants to say
40,000
it.
Herman Cain
Let's
might
finish
say
up because I want to
otherwise.
move on to our next.
Yes, I would. He's been totally irresponsible
Get him.
the way in
Get
which
him.
he has handled the social
That claps for you,
distancing
Tyler.
and people wearing
Clap
masks,
emoji.
basically encourage them not to.
All right.
He's a fool on this.
If you could get the crowds, you would have done the
This
same
is so
thing. But
funny
you
that
can't.
he's
Nobody
bragging
cares.
about
Gentlemen,
crowd
can we move on?
size.
Gentlemen,
Even
can we
even
move
in
on
the
to
middle of a
economy?
pandemic
Yes.
where
The economy
crowds are
is, I
not,
think
you
it's
know,
fair to
not
say,
a good thing.
recovering
He still can't
faster
help
than
himself.
expected from the
And
shutdown.
his crowds are not good. They
In
are-
the
they
second
are
quarter,
small.
the unemployment rate fell to 8.4% last month. The Federal Reserve says the hit to growth, which is going to be there, is not going to be nearly as big as they had expected. President Trump, you say we are in a V-shaped recovery. Vice President Biden, you say it's more of a K-shape. What difference does that mean to the American people in terms of the economy?
K-shape?
President Trump, in this segment, you go first.
So we built the
How can the
greatest
economy
economy in
be shaped
history.
like a
We
K?
closed it down because of the China plague. When the plague came
China
in, we
plague.
closed it down, which
Oh,
was very
China, yeah,
hard
that's on the bingo,
psychologically to do.
I think
He didn't
China
think we should
virus.
close it down, and
That's
he was
fine.
wrong. And again, 2 million people would
It
be
was on
dead
one of the
now.
original
Instead of
ones.
still
I took it off
204,000
because I felt
people
bad
is
about it.
too much. One person is too much. Should have never happened from China. But what happened is we closed it down, and now we're
Piece of
reopening,
shit.
and we're doing record business. We had 10.4
It's like,
million
yeah.
people in a 4-month period that we've put back into the workforce.
Yeah, back
That's
into
a record
shitty
the likes
jobs
of
where
which nobody's
they're
ever seen
contract
before.
employees
and he wants to close
not
down.
making any
He
money,
will shut it down again.
being
he will
exposed to a
destroy
deadly
this country.
virus.
You know, a lot of people between
Or
drugs,
dying on
and
the fucking
alcohol,
floor of
and
Amazon being
depression.
left there
When
for
you
2
start
hours,
shutting it
you know?
down, you take a look at what's happening at some of your Democrat-run states
While
where they
everyone
have
else
these
is not allowed
tough
to sell it.
shutdowns. And I'm telling you, it's because they don't want to open it. One of them came out last week. You saw that. Oh, we're going to open up on November 9th. Why November 9th? Because it's after the election. They think they're hurting us by keeping them
he's
closed.
literally
They're
saying
hurting
it's not-
people. People know what to do. They can social distance. They can wash their hands. They can wear masks. They can do whatever they want. But they got to open these states up. When you look at North Carolina, when you look, and these governors are under siege, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and a couple of others, you got to open these states up. It's not fair. You're talking about almost it's like being in prison. And you look at what's going on with divorce. Look at what's going on with alcoholism and drugs. It's a very, very sad thing.
And
he'll
look
close
what's
down the
going
whole
on with
country.
drugs.
This guy will close down the whole country and
Dang, the
destroy
bomb
our
comes
country.
out, huh?
Our country is coming back incredibly well,
Jesus.
setting
Bugs me
records
out.
as it does it. We don't need somebody to come in and say, let's shut it down.
All right. Your 2 minutes, sir. We're now moved to you. As I said, posing the question,
Very
the president
professional,
says it's a
Justin.
V-shaped recovery. You say it's a
I've
K-shaped
been smoking literally this entire
recovery.
stream.
What's the difference?
The difference is millionaires and billionaires like him in the middle of the COVID crisis have done very well.
Yep.
Another
yeah.
billionaires have made another $300 billion because of his profligate tax proposal, and he only focused
Got
on the market.
profligate, you couldn't
But
get
you folks
credit.
at home, you folks living in Scranton and Claymont and all the small towns and working class towns in America,
Really
how
going
are you
deep
doing?
into Pennsylvania.
This
guy
this
paid
is who he,
total
who
of
he should be talking to.
$750 in
It's
taxes.
very
Any
smart.
Americans.
Wait,
How
wait,
many-
no, sir. It's
It's
his
the wrong state.
Yeah, I understand. You've agreed
Talk to
the
the
2 minutes,
people
so
who
please let
voted
him
for
have it.
I'll get my
Obama
time
in
back.
2008,
The
2012,
fact is
and then
that
voted for
he
Trump.
has, in fact, worked on
Well,
this
I mean,
in a way
he
that
just has
he
to be
could the
focusing
first
on
president of the United
Pennsylvania
States
and Wisconsin.
to leave
He
office
wins.
having fewer
Right.
jobs in his administration than when he became president. Fewer jobs than when he became president. First one in American history. Secondly, the people
First
who
one in
have
America.
lost their jobs are those people who have been on the front lines, those people who have been saving our lives, those people who have been out there dying, people who've been putting themselves in the way to make sure that we could all try to make it. And the idea that he is insisting that we go forward and open when you have almost half the states in America with a significant increase in COVID deaths and COVID cases in the United States of America. And he wants to open it up more. Why does he want to open it up? Why doesn't he take care of the American? You can't fix the economy until you fix the COVID crisis. And he has no intention of doing anything about making it better for you all at home in terms of your health and your safety. Schools. Why aren't schools open? Because it costs a lot of money to open them safely. You know, they were going to give, his administration was going to give the teachers and school students masks. And then they decided, no, couldn't do that because it's not a national emergency. Not a national emergency. They've done nothing to help small businesses. Nothing. They're closing. 1 in 6 is now gone. He ought to get on the job and take care of the needs of the American people so we can open safely.
All right. Your time is up, sir. Well, we are going to get to...
I have to respond to that.
Well, you both had 2 minutes, sir.
Excuse me, he made a statement.
So did you.
People want their schools, people want their schools open. They don't want to be shut down. They don't want their state shut down. They want their restaurants. I look at New York. It's so sad what's happening in New York. It's almost like a ghost town. And I'm not sure it can ever recover what they've done in New York. People want their places open.
New York City
they want to
is
get
a
back
good
to their
town.
people. They'll
want
be
to be
careful,
safe.
but they want their schools open. I'm the one that brought back football. By the way, I brought back Big Ten football. It was me, and I'm very happy to do it. And
all right,
people of Ohio are very proud of me. And you know,
we're going to get gentlemen, we're going to get to your economic plans going forward in a moment. But first, Mr. President, as you well know, there's a new report that in 2016, the year you were elected president, and 2017, your first year as president, that you paid $750 a year in federal income tax each of those years. I know that you pay a lot of other taxes, but I'm asking you the specific question. Is it true that you pay $750 in federal income taxes each of those 2 years?
I paid millions of dollars in taxes, millions of dollars of income tax. And let me just tell you, there was a story in one of the papers. I paid $38 million one year. I paid $27 million.
Show us your tax returns.
I went... you'll see it as soon as it's finished. You'll see it. You know, if you want to go to the Board of Elections. There's a 118-page or so report that says everything I have, every bank I have, I'm totally under-leveraged because the assets are extremely good. And we have I built a great company.
I'm asking you a specific question, which is...
let me tell you.
I understand all of that. I understand all of that. No, Mr. President, I'm asking you a question. Will you tell us how much you paid in federal income taxes in 2016 and 2017?
Millions of dollars.
You paid millions of dollars?
Millions of dollars.
So not $750.
Millions of dollars, and you'll get to see it. And you'll get to see it.
You're saying that for 5 years.
Chris, let me just tell you something. That it was the tax laws. I don't want to pay tax. Before I came here, I was a private developer. I was a private business people. Like every other private person, unless they're stupid, they go through the laws, and that's what it is. He passed a tax bill that gave us all these privileges for depreciation and for tax credits. We build a building and we get tax credits like the hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue. You get a massive, which, by the way, was given to me by the Obama administration, if you can believe that. Now, the man got fired.
And then the
right
Republicans
after that happened,
went and cut taxes on the wealthy.
Yeah, I do want to
2017.
respond. Look, the tax code that
Biden doesn't want to fully
put him in a
reverse.
position that he pays less tax than
wants to reverse a lot of that, but
on the money a school teacher makes is because of him he says he's smart because he can take advantage of the tax code. And he does take advantage of the tax code. That's why I'm going to eliminate the Trump tax cuts. And I'm going to eliminate those tax cuts and make sure that we invest in the people who, in fact, need the help. People out there need help.
But why didn't you do it over the last 25 years?
Because you weren't president. Because you weren't president screwing things up.
You were a senator. And
You're the worst president America has ever had.
Hey,
Come
Joe,
on.
let me just tell you, Joe. I've done more in.
Here we go.
In 47 months,
he's getting clowned by Joe Biden. That's how he's pretty rough right now.
We've done things that you never even thought of doing, including fixing the broken military that you gave me, including taking care of your vets.
Mr. President, we're talking about the economy. I'd like to ask you about your plans going forward, because, Mr. Vice President, your economic plan, if you were to be elected president, focuses a lot on big government, big taxes, big spending. I want to focus first on the taxes. You propose more than $4 trillion over a decade in new taxes on individuals making more than $400,000 a year and on corporations. President Trump says that that kind of an increase in taxes is going to hurt the economy as it's just coming out of a recession.
Well, just
False.
take a look at what the analysis done by Wall Street firms. Points out that my economic plan would create 7 million more jobs than his in 4 years, number one. And number two, it would create an additional $1 trillion in economic growth because it would be about buying American. That we're going to make this federal government spend $600 billion a year on everything from ships to steel to buildings and the like. And under my proposal, we're going to make sure that every penny of that has to be made by a company.
But respectfully, sir, I'm talking about taxes, not spending.
By the way, I'm going to eliminate a significant number of the tax. I'm going to make the.
What if Joe Biden came out with a
corporate tax
1940s-style
28%? It
ad
shouldn't be
which was
21%.
like, buy war bonds and recycle scrap metal?
Companies, in the
Support the
Fortune
war.
500, who don't pay a single penny in tax, making billions of dollars.
Why didn't you do it
Billions
before
of
when you were vice president with Obama?
Because you,
Well, that's
in
not a
fact,
bad
passed that.
criticism.
That was
Right.
your
I got
tax
it.
proposal.
I got it done. And you know what happened?
You got it done.
Our economy boomed
And,
like it's never boomed.
The economy is
Mr.
busted.
President,
Let me finish.
Mr. President, let me pick up on that. You would
Worse than
continue
the Great
your free
Depression.
market approach, lower
Worse
taxes,
than the Great
more
Depression.
deregulation, correct?
Not lower taxes for the American people.
But let me.
Excuse me.
But in Obama's, you talk about the economy booming. It turns out that in Obama's final 3 years as president, more jobs were created, 1.5 million more jobs than in the first 3 years of your presidency.
They had the slowest recovery since economic recovery since 1929. It was the
stock
slowest
market was, like,
recovery.
definitely
Also,
booming
They took
under
over
Obama.
something that was down here. All you had to do is turn on the lights. And
Everyone
you
had
picked
a
up
big
lot.
stock
But they had the
boner
slowest
where the
economic
collapse of the
recovery
US,
since 1929.
yeah,
Let me tell you about
for
the
sure.
stock market.
Well, I mean,
When the
under
stock market
Obama,
goes
though,
up, that
the
means
stock
jobs.
market was
It also
doing
means
well.
401ks.
And also,
If
like,
you got in,
now
if you
it's
ever
like
became
a lot of the
president
stock
with your
market is doing
ideas,
quite
you
well
want to
on
turn
your
back
Right.
my
I would
tax,
say.
Yeah.
my taxes. I'll tell you what, you'll lose.
Shows how well
half of the
correlated that
companies
is
have
with,
poured in
how
here
well the
will leave,
public-
and
Yeah,
plenty
like
of
general
companies that are
well-being.
already here. They'll
Yeah.
leave
Hardly
for
any
other
companies
places.
have
They will
poured in
leave,
here.
and you will have a
Have it.
depression the likes of which you've never seen.
Look,
We're already
we
there. dude.
inherited the worst recession short of a depression in American history. I was asked to bring it back. We were able to have an economic recovery that created the jobs you're talking about. We handed him a booming economy. He blew it.
It wasn't
He blew
booming.
it.
It's
He
true.
It
blew
wasn't booming. It was the weakest
Well,
recovery
sir, is
since
it fair,
Obama
wait,
inherited
is it
when
fair
fucking
to,
housing
is it fair to
prices.
say he blew it when,
And he
in
came out
fact,
with
there was
COVID came in,
when there was
so-
record low unemployment
Yeah.
before
That's one
COVID?
positive.
Yeah, but because what he did, even before COVID, manufacturing went in the hole. Manufacturing went in the hole.
Manufacturing.
That's
Wait,
number
manufacturing
two.
went in the
Number
hole.
three.
They said it would
Manufacturing.
take. No, you were
Like
number
in the
two.
No.
Chris.
There's just some big
They
hole out
said
there.
it would
This
take
guy.
a miracle to bring
have to
back
close this
manufacturing.
hole.
I brought back 700,000 jobs. They brought back
That's his
nothing.
new
They gave
platform.
up on manufacturing.
We
Part
did
of my
not do that.
standard fare.
I'm the guy that
He
brought
totally
back
gave
the
up on
automobile
manufacturing.
industry.
Let him.
We brought back, I was asked to bring back Chrysler and General Motors. We brought them back right here in the state of Ohio and Michigan. He blew it. They're gone. He blew it. And in fact, they're going
Ohio
after
had the
stuff-
best year it's ever had last year. Michigan had the best year they've ever had.
That is not
Many
true.
car companies
Not-
came in from Germany, from
Not-
Japan,
I'll be right
went to
back.
Michigan,
No,
went to Ohio.
They're not having
And they
that.
didn't come in with you.
Mr. Vice President,
Why would they have come
And
to
so
Biden?
you take a look at what he's actually done. He's done very little. His trade deals are the same way. He talks about these great trade deals. You know, he talks about the art of the deal. China's perfected the art of the steal. We have a higher deficit with China now than we did before. We have the highest trade deficit
China
with
ate
Mexico.
your lunch, down
All right, gentlemen,
18%.
in-
China ate your lunch, Joe. And no wonder your son goes in and he takes out
Hunter
billions
Biden!
of
Let's
dollars.
see.
Takes
Let's see
out
what we got.
billions
Let's see
of
what we got.
dollars to
All right.
manage. He makes
Not quite
millions of
bingo.
dollars.
Let's see.
And also, while
not
we're at
true.
it, why is
Simply
it, just out of curiosity, the mayor of Moscow's wife gave your son $3.5 million.
That's
What
not
did he
true.
do to deserve it?
That
What
is
did he do with Burisma
none
to
of that-
deserve
Wait, wait,
$183,000?
None
You've
of
asked
that
your
is
question,
true.
let him answer.
None of that is true. It's
Oh, really? He didn't
totally
get
But no,
$3.5
hey,
million?
Mr. President,
It's
Mr.
totally-
President, please. You've
totally
asked a question.
discredited. Totally discredited. And by the way,
Well, wait,
let's
he didn't
talk-
get
No, no.
$3.5 million, Joe?
Mr. Vice,
He got
Mr.
$3.5 million
President,
dollars.
That is not true.
Oh, really?
Mr.
Oh.
President,
But,
it's an open discussion, please.
Now,
It's a fact.
Well,
There's- it
you
is
have
not a
raised an
fact.
issue. Let the
It's been
Vice
totally
President answer.
discredited.
Did
There was a
Burisma pay him
report.
$183,000 a month with no experience in energy?
Mr.
Look,
President,
with no
My
job?
son did nothing
Kinda true.
wrong at Burisma.
I think he
and
did.
Mr.
the only
President,
guy that
let
did
him
some-
answer.
He doesn't want to let me answer because he knows I have the truth. His position has been totally, thoroughly discredited.
who?
in
The
Ukraine.
media?
By everybody. Well, by the
the
media,
media,
by our
because they
allies,
Not
Lies
wrong.
by the
There's
World
obviously
Bank, by,
corruption, but also like good on you, Biden, for actually
by
preparing for this.
everyone has discredited. Matter of
Dude,
fact,
Mr.
even the people
President,
who
please stop.
testified under oath.
So let me
under
ask you
oath,
this,
under-
Joe.
under
No,
oath.
go ahead, Mr. I'm listening to
even
you.
The people under
He got $3.5 million from
testified-
Moscow.
He testified under oath, and his administration said, "I did my job and I did it very well.
Oh,
I
really?
did it
I'd like to
honorably."
know who they are.
Well, I'll give you the list
I'll
of the
fire
people who
them.
testified.
No, go ahead, sir.
Sure, you've already fired most of them because they did
Some
a good
because
job.
some people don't
well,
do a good
here's
job. With you,
Go
they
ahead.
said-
You get
here's the
the, wait
deal.
a minute. You get the final word, Mr.
Well, it's hard to get any word in with this clown. Excuse me, this.
Hey,
this
let me just
person.
say, Joe,
No. I'm Mr. President.
$3.5
Mr.
million,
President.
Joe.
That is simply.
Why did he
not true.
deserve $3.5 million
It
from
did-
Moscow?
Look, here's the deal. We want to talk
this
about
Hunter Biden?
families and
Yep.
ethics.
Okay.
I don't want to do that. I mean, his family we could talk about all night. His family's
My
already
family,
already
family lost
wrote-
a fortune by
Go ahead.
coming down and helping
Go
us
ahead.
with
Go ahead,
government.
sir.
And that's such a.
they're right
That's
here.
it, Mr.
That's such
President.
a
Every
great.
single one of them lost
This
a
is not
fortune
about
by
President.
my
coming and
family or
helping
his
us with
family. It's
government.
about your family.
They
The
didn't
American
collect
people.
spin, good
He
spin.
doesn't. That's not true. It doesn't want to talk about what you need. You, the American people. It's about you. That's what we're talking about
you
here.
should
All right,
Not
that's the end
about
of
here.
that's the end of the
Shouldn't have
segment.
taken the money.
We're moving on.
He didn't take them.
Well,
Vice
it's a very-
President,
but Chris,
no,
can I be honest? It's a very important
Try to be
question.
honest.
No, I-
He
I-
stood
good.
up.
No,
he stood up,
the answer to
and
the
he
question is no.
threatened Ukraine.
No, sir.
With a billion
he's crushing it,
dollars.
honestly.
That is
If you're- you know what, you're-
absolutely
wait,
not
Chris Wallace is
true.
doing a good
You're
job.
doing it.
You're going to
Not
have
tape.
True.
gentlemen.
One of the few
I hate
good
to raise
news.
my voice,
He's
but
on
it seems
tape.
to be. Why shouldn't I be different than the two of you? So here's the
Got a
deal.
good point.
We have 6 segments. We have ended that segment. We're going to go to the next segment. In that segment, you each are going to have 2 uninterrupted moments. In those 2 uninterrupted minutes, Mr. President, you can say anything you want. I'm going to ask a question about race, but if you want to answer about something else, go ahead. But I think that the country would be better
don't wanna
served
answer it, that's
if
fine.
we allowed both people
What
to
the
speak
fuck? Are you
with
kidding?
fewer interruptions. I'm appealing to you, sir, to do that.
Well, and him too.
Well, frankly, you've been doing more interrupting
Oh, that's
than
all
he
right,
has.
but he does plenty.
Well, less than, sir, less
there's
than,
plenty.
no, less than you have. Let's please continue on.
God.
The issue of race. Vice President Biden, you say that President Trump's response to the violence in Charlottesville 3 years ago, when he talked about very fine people on both sides, was what directly led you to launch this run
Super
for
weird. He
president.
said Trump didn't have
President-
to answer that.
Trump, you have often
Yeah.
said that you believe you have done more for black Americans than any president, with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln. My question for the two
possible-
of you is, why should voters trust you rather than your opponent
God.
to deal with the
That
race
doesn't feel
issues
good.
facing
I
this
feel bad.
country over the next 4 years? Vice President Biden, you go first.
It's about equity and equality. It's about decency. It's about the Constitution.
Possible
And
exception
we
of
have never
Abraham
walked
Lincoln.
away from trying to require equity for everyone, equality for the whole of America.
That's like me saying I'm
But
extremely
we've never
generous,
accomplished
but
it.
with
We've never
the possible
walked away
exception
from it like
exception
he
of
has done.
Jesus being more
It is
generous.
true. The reason I got the
possible
racism
exception
from those
of
people.
Santa
Close your
Claus?
eyes. Remember what those people look like coming out of the fields carrying torches, their veins bulging, spewing anti-Semitic bile, and accompanied by the Ku Klux Klan. A young woman got killed, and they asked the president what he thought. He said there were very fine people on both sides. No president has ever
Finish
said
the
anything
statement.
like that.
That's not true.
It is who's
Now,
who
second,
in it, sir.
second point I'd make to you is that when
Woodrow Wilson
Floyd was
screened
killed, when
Birth
Mr.
of a
Floyd was
Nation at
killed,
the White House.
there was a peaceful protest in front of the White
There
House.
have been slave
What did he do?
auctions.
He came
at
out of
the
his
White
bunker,
House.
had the military use tear gas on him so he could walk across to a church and hold up a Bible. And then what happened after that? The bishop of that very church said that it was a disgrace. The general who was with him said all he ever wants to do is divide people, not unite people at all. This is a president who has used everything as a dog whistle to try to generate racist hatred, racist division. This is a man who, in fact, you talk about helping African Americans. 1 in 1,000 African Americans has been killed because of the coronavirus. And if he doesn't do something quickly, by the end of the year, 1 in 500 will have been killed. 1 in 500 African Americans. This man is a savior of African Americans. This man cares at all. This man's done virtually nothing. Look, the fact is that you have to look at what he talks about.
Facts.
You have to look at what he did. And what he did has been disastrous for the African American community.
So,
President Trump, you have 2 minutes. Why should Americans trust you over your opponent to deal with
he
racism?
did a crime bill.
Crime bill,
1994.
Is that on there?
Where you call them super predators, African Americans.
Someone told me it wasn't gonna get
And
called.
they've never
This
forgotten
was
it.
bound-
They've never
this
forgotten
was
it,
bound
Joe.
to come
No,
up.
sir, it's his 2 minutes.
So you did that, and they called you a super predator, and I'm letting people out of jail now that you have treated the African American population community, you have treated the black community about as bad as anybody in this country. You did the 1990, and that's why if you look at the polls, I'm doing better than any Republican has done in a long time because they saw what you did. You call them super predators, and you've called them worse than that. Because you look back at your testimony over the years, you've called them a lot worse than that. As far as the church is concerned, and as far as the generals are concerned, we just got the support of 250 military leaders and generals.
They're both
Total
right.
support.
Absolutely.
Law enforcement, almost every law enforcement group in the United States. I have Florida, I have Texas, I have Ohio, I have Portland, the sheriff just came out today and he said, I support President Trump. I
Black
don't think you
people
have any
in this
law
country are
enforcement. You can't even say the
3.7
word law
times
enforcement
as
because if
likely
you
to
say
die
those
from
words,
COVID as
you're going to
white
lose
people.
all of your radical left supporters. And
Indigenous
why are
people-
you saying those words?
Indigenous
Why
people
don't
are
you say the
3.5
words law
times
enforcement?
likely.
Because
Sorry, what were you
you know
saying,
what?
TJ?
If
I
they
can't remember
called
the
us in
exact
Portland, we would put out
statistic, but
that
there was like
fire in a half an
study
hour.
done
But they
where like
won't
med
do it because
students
they're run by
and
radical
doctors
left
like didn't
Democrats.
believe
If
that
you look at
like
Chicago,
African American
if you
people
look
felt
at
pain the
any
same way as
place
like
you
white
want to
people.
look, Seattle.
About half.
They
I
heard
think
we
about
were
half of
coming in the
medical school
following
students.
day, and they
Yeah.
put up their hands, and we got back Seattle.
did not get back
Minneapolis, we
Seattle.
got it back, Joe, because we believe in law and order, but you don't.
Fuck outta here.
The top 10 cities and just about the top 40 cities are run by Democrats and in many cases
Protests
radical
for
left.
120
And they've got
days.
you wrapped around their finger, Joe, to a point where you don't want to say anything about law and order. And I'll tell you what,
Law
the
and order.
people of this country
Law and order, bingo.
want and demand law and order, and you're afraid to even say it.
All right.
This is where Biden's
to
about to accept
race.
Trump's framing.
Vice President
course,
Biden,
yeah.
after the grand jury in the Breonna Taylor case decided not to charge any of the police with homicide,
questions.
you said it raises the question, quote,
Chris Wallace is killing
whether justice could be equally applied in America. Do you believe that there is a separate but unequal system of justice for blacks in this country?
Yes, there is. There's systemic injustice in this country, in
Separate but
education and
equal
work
is its own
and
thing, you know?
in law enforcement
whatever.
and the way in which it's enforced. But look, the vast majority of police officers are good, decent, honorable men and women. They risk their lives every day to take care of us. But there are some bad apples. And when they occur, when they find them, they have to be sorted out. They have to be held
Did you just say
accountable.
bad
They have to
apples?
be
Are
held
you fucking
accountable.
kidding me?
And
He
what
did.
I'm going to do as President of the United States is call together an entire group of people at the White House, well, everything from the civil rights groups to the police officers, to the police chiefs, and we're going to work this out. We're going to work this out. So we
Do you think
change
Trump will
the
say
way in
Biden
which we have
supports
more
defunding the
transparency
police?
in
Yeah,
when
I was
these
kinda
things
thinking,
happen.
yeah.
These
I
cops
think
aren't
he's gonna
happy
say
to see
Biden
what
supports
happened
defunding the police.
to
I think he's
George
gonna say
Floyd. These
Biden
cops
is,
aren't happy to see what
supports
happened to
Antifa.
Breonna Taylor.
Yeah.
Most don't like it. But we have to have a system.
I was
where
looking
people
at-
are held
I was looking
accountable.
for Biden
And by the
condemns
way,
Antifa on
violence
this one.
in response is
We'll
never
see.
appropriate.
Oh, give
never
it-
appropriate. Peaceful protest is.
Does that count?
Violence is never appropriate.
All right.
Almost.
What is
Give him 1
peaceful
second.
protest? When they
we
run
go.
through the middle of the
President
town
Trump-
and burn down your
President
stores
Trump-
and kill people all
President
over
Trump-
the place.
Kill
people
Say
all over
peaceful
the place.
protest.
President Trump,
no, it's
I'm not
not, but
asking-
you say it is.
I did
President
not
Trump,
say
I'd like to continue with the
Yes,
issue
go
of
ahead,
race. I
please.
promise we're going to get to the issue of law and order in a moment.
Okay.
This month, your administration directed federal agencies to end racial sensitivity training that addresses white
Doesn't do
privilege
shit,
or
as
critical
it
race
turns out,
theory.
But
Why did you decide to do that, to end racial sensitivity training?
Racial
and
sensitivity trainer
do you
for the San
believe
Jose
that there is
Police
systemic
Department was one
racism
of
in
the
this
people
country,
shot with
sir?
a rubber bullet.
I ended it because it's racist.
Right.
I ended it because a lot of people were complaining that they were asked to do things
Well,
that
and
were
Derek Chauvin, I
absolutely
think, had just
insane,
gotten done
that it
with
was a radical
taking one of those
revolution that was
classes.
taking place
The,
in our
the
military,
officer who killed George
in our
Floyd.
schools, all over the place, and you know it, and so does everybody
What
else.
is radical,
and he would know.
What is
oh,
radical
it's totally
about
racist.
racial sensitivity training, sir?
If you were a certain person, you had no status in life. It was sort of a reversal. And if you look at the people, we were paying people hundreds of thousands of dollars to teach very
Did he
bad
just say
ideas
reverse
and
racism
frankly
Israel,
very sick
basically?
ideas.
Yeah,
and
I think
really,
he
they
did.
were
That should
teaching
have been on the
people to
fucking
hate our
bingo.
country.
I
And
did
I'm not
not-
going to do that. I'm not
It's
going to
not
allow
prepared
that to
for
happen.
Yeah.
We have to go back to the core values of this country. They were teaching people that our country is a horrible
Core
place, it's a
values.
racist place, and they were teaching people to hate our country. And I'm not going to allow that to happen.
Vice President Biden?
Nobody's doing that. He's the racist.
Nobody wants
Here's
to
the
stop
deal.
being
I know a
white
lot more about
supremacist.
this.
Let him finish.
Don't worry.
The fact is that there is racial insensitivity. People have to be made aware of what other people feel like, what insults
fucking
them,
pay
what
people.
is demeaning to them.
Stole a
It's
lot of shit.
important
You
that
need to
people
give it
know
back.
they don't want to. Many people don't want to hurt other people's feelings, but
all
it makes
about
a big
feelings.
difference. It makes a gigantic difference in the way a child is able to grow up and have a sense of self-esteem. It's a little bit like how this guy and his friends look down on so many people. They look down their nose on people like Irish Catholics like me and grew up in Scranton. They look down
Scranton.
on people who don't have money. They look
Is
down
Biden
on
from
people
Scranton?
who are of a
Nope.
different
Well, I
faith.
mean,
They look down on people
I guess he
who are a
might be.
different
I know he
color.
lived in Pennsylvania
In
for a
fact,
while,
we're
but-
all Americans. The only way we're going to bring this country together is bring everybody together. There's nothing we cannot
nowhere, I
do
think.
if we do it together. We can take this on and we can defeat racism
Vice
in America.
President Trump, sir.
During the Obama
Here we go.
Biden administration, there was tremendous division. There was hatred. You look at Ferguson, you go to many places. Look at Oakland. Look what happened in Oakland. Look what happened in Baltimore. Look what happened. Frankly, it was more violent than what I'm even seeing now.
Oh, my
but the reason is that the Democrats that run these
Absolutely
cities
ridiculous.
People riot in for
want
like
to talk
3
like
days
you
in
about
Baltimore.
law and
Like,
order.
Violent
and you
crime.
still haven't mentioned.
Violent
Are you in
crime.
favor of law
Shout
and
out to
order?
Maryland.
I'm in favor of law. You follow
Are you in favor of law and order? Go
Yes,
ahead,
I'm
say
in
it.
favor.
You
Everybody's
asked a
in favor
question,
of
let him finish.
Law
You'll
and
lose-
order.
you'll lose his
Law
left.
and
No,
order.
let him answer.
Law and order with justice, where people get treated fairly. And the fact of the matter is, violent crime went down 17%, 15% in our administration.
All right.
It's gone up on his watch.
Went down much more in ours.
All right, we're now.
is
You're,
president of
Mr.
the
President,
United
you're going
States
to.
of America.
China, we
Mr.
were
President,
breaking every
you're-
record in the
Mr.
book.
President, you're going to be very happy because
And
we're now going to
excuse
talk
me,
about law and order.
Places we had trouble were Democratic-run cities.
That's
and
exactly
those
my question.
Democratic-
There has been a dramatic increase in homicides in America this summer, particularly, and you often blame that on Democratic mayors
no,
and
it's because
Democratic
the
governors, but
economy
in fact there
fucking
have been
sucks because-
equivalent
Because people are
spikes
starving.
in
Yeah.
Republican-led cities like Tulsa and Fort
the
Worth.
bread lines,
So the
fucking
question
lines
is
through
this really a
kitchens, like-
party issue?
I think it's a party issue. You can bring in a couple of examples, but if you look at Chicago, what's going on in Chicago,
Just
where
naming places with
53
His
people
angle
were
on this
shot
should
and
be,
8
and not that I
died
agree
shot.
with this, but it
If you
should
look
be
at
that
New
it's
York,
because of the
where it's
economy,
going
and
up
that's why
like
we need to
nobody's ever seen
reopen it.
anything.
Which again, I
Bars
don't
are going
agree,
up
but if he was smart, that's what he would say right
150,
now.
Totally.
Crime.
Republican
It is
cities.
crazy
Neither one of
what's
them's gonna
going
admit
on.
about the
And
economy.
he doesn't want to say
Right.
law and order
Yeah,
because
exactly.
he can't.
'Cause neither
because
one of
he'll
them is
lose his
actually gonna
radical
really
left
address
supporters.
it.
And once he does that, it's over with. But if he ever got to run this country, and they ran it the way he would want to run it, we would
run
our
it
suburbs
the
would
way-
be gone.
Nobody
By the
actually
way,
believes
our
this, too.
suburbs would be
That's the
gone.
thing. That's
And
what
you would
Biden
see
has going
problems
for
like
him.
you've
He
never
would
seen.
know
right.
a
No,
suburb
no
unless
one
he
buys
took a
this
wrong
one.
turn.
Oh, I know suburbs.
He would not.
So much
I was
better.
raised.
Go ahead.
I was-
Of course he knows
I was
suburbs
raised
so
in the
much better than
suburbs.
Biden.
This is not 1950. All these dog whistles.
You know how
and
many-
races
how
don't work
many,
anymore.
buildings I
Suburbs
own
are
and
by and
neglect?
large integrated. There's many people today driving their kids to soccer practice and/or to black and white and Hispanic in the same car as there have been any time in the past. What really is a
Didn't know that
threat
one.
to the suburbs and their safety is his failure to deal with COVID. They're dying in the suburbs. His failure to deal with the environment. They're being flooded. They're being burned out because his refusal to do anything. That's why the suburbs are in trouble.
I do want to talk about this issue of law and order, though. And in the joint recommendation that came from the Biden-Bernie Sanders task force, you talked about, quote, reimagining policing. First of all, what does reimagining policing mean, and do you support?
It means.
Let me, if I might finish the question. What does reimagining policing mean, and do you support the Black Lives Matter call for community control of policing?
Look, what I support is the police having the opportunity to deal with the problems they face. And I'm totally opposed to defunding the police officers. As a matter of fact, local police, the only one defunding in his budget calls for a $400 million cut in local law enforcement assistance. They need more assistance. They need, when they show up for a 9/11 call, to have someone with them as a psychologist or psychiatrist to keep them from having to use force and be able to talk people down. We have to have community policing like we had before.
He's like really riding the middle ground with this one.
In the communities. That's when crime went down. It didn't go up.
He's not riding the middle ground.
And so we have to
doubling
be
down
That's not what they're talking about, Chris. That's not what they're He's talking about defunding the police.
That is not true.
He doesn't have any law.
He's doubling down on
no
a
law
roided out
enforcement.
That's not true.
Almost
That's
nothing.
Look.
Oh, really? Who do you have? Name one group that supports you. Name one group that came out and supported you.
Name one racist militia group that came out and supported you.
Exactly.
All right.
Name one law enforcement group that came out and supported
gentlemen,
you.
I think I'm going to
I've
take
got
back
the 3
moderation
percenters.
control,
I've got the
wanna get to
Boogaloos.
Another subject, which is the issue of protests
Proud
in many
Boys.
cities that have turned
I got the
violent.
Proud
In
Boys.
Portland, Oregon,
I got the
especially, we had
Boogaloos.
more than 100 straight days of protests, which I think you would agree. You talk about peaceful protests. Many of those turned
We're not
into
peaceful.
riots. Mr. Vice President, you say that people who commit crimes should be held accountable. The question I have, though, is as the Democratic nominee, and earlier tonight you said that you are the Democratic Party right now, have you ever called the Democratic mayor of Portland or the Democratic governor of Oregon and said, hey, you got to stop this, bring in the National Guard, do whatever it takes, but you stop the days and months of violence in Portland?
I don't hold public office now. I am a former vice president. I've made it clear in my public statements that the violence should be prosecuted. It should be prosecuted. And anyone who commits it
But
should
you've
be
never
prosecuted.
called for the people, the leader.
that.
Excuse me, sir. You have never called for the leaders in Portland and in Oregon to bring in the National Guard and knock off 100 days of riots.
They can, in fact, take care of it if he just stay out of the way. Look here.
Oh, really?
Really? Here's the thing.
I sent in the U.S. Marshals to get the killer of the young man in the middle of the street. They shot him, and for 3 days,
President Trump,
bragging about assassinating
I sent in the
Michael
U.S.
right now.
Marshals.
President
They
Trump.
took care of business.
Go ahead.
Bragging about
And by the
assassinating
way,
somebody.
you know, his own former spokesperson said, you know, riots and chaos and violence help his cause. That's what this is all about.
I don't know who said that.
I do.
Who?
I think Kellyanne Conway.
Biden forgot someone's name.
She said
Yeah, that was.
I hope that's actually who it was.
Here's the point. The point is that that's what he is keeps
Bingo.
trying to rile everything up. He doesn't want to calm things down. Instead of going in and talking to people and saying, let's get everybody together, figure out how to deal with this. What's he do? He just pours gasoline in the fire constantly,
And-
every single solitary
Okay,
time.
and to end this, button up this segment, I'm going to give you a minute to answer, sir. You have repeatedly criticized.
I have to answer his
No,
statement.
you have
His statement.
repeatedly.
We're buttoning up this
no,
segment
you've been
now.
talking
He
back
made
and
a
forth.
statement.
I'm asking you.
I would love to end it.
Sir,
I would love to end it, and
you
we
know, if
would
you want to
very-
switch seats,
We would very quickly.
We could do that, but
I'd
I'm
send in
I'm-
the National Guard. It would be over. There'd be no problem.
Okay,
but they
good.
don't want to accept the National Guard.
Fascist.
You have repeatedly
He's a
criticized
fascist.
the vice president for not specifically calling out Antifa and
we
other
go.
left-wing
That's right.
extremist groups. But are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in
Let's fucking
Kenosha
go.
and as we've seen in Portland?
Sure,
Are you
I'm willing
prepared
to do that,
specifically
but
Do it.
I
go
would
ahead,
say,
guys.
I
Put
would
down your
say
guns,
almost
head to the
everything I
polls.
see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
So what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to
willing
see
to
Well,
do
then
peace.
do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it.
You want to call him? What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name. Go ahead.
supremacists and
Who would
white
you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right-wing
Proud
militia.
Boys, stand back and stand by.
Stand
but
by.
I'll tell you what. Somebody's
He didn't
got to
do
do
it.
something about
He
Antifa.
literally will not
and
say white
This is not a
supremacists.
right-wing problem.
He was like,
this is
"What?
a
Look out, I'm
FBI
gonna do
director
it."
This is
said,
a left-wing
really-
I'm
problem.
white
Go ahead, sir.
supremacist. Antifa's an idea, not an
Biden should
organization.
You got it,
should,
not
should
militia.
really
That's
hit him
what
on
his
this. Make him say it.
FBI, his
Okay.
FBI director
Gentlemen,
said.
Well,
we're
then
gonna-
you know what?
No,
He's
no,
right.
we're done, sir. We're moving on to the next.
Everybody
We're moving.
gives you
bad
advice
history
in your
Make him
It's
say
not
administration.
white
an
supremacist.
idea.
Everybody in
Antifa
your
is
administration
bad.
tells you the truth has a bad idea.
Can I tell you what?
You have no ideas. that are
Antifa is a dangerous
All right,
radical
gentlemen, we're
group.
now moving on to the Trump
And
and
you ought to be
Biden
careful with
records.
them. They'll overthrow
Chris,
you.
When the president, I'm going to ask a question. When the president
Not
seeks a
pressing
second
on that.
term,
That's fucked up.
it is generally a referendum on his
That
record.
was
But Vice
something.
President Biden, you like to quote one of your dad's sayings, which is, "Don't compare me to the Almighty, compare me to the alternative." And in this case, sir, you are the alternative. Looking at both of your records, I'm going to ask each of you, why should voters elect you president
Biden should not have
over
let
your
that
opponent?
segment
In
end
this
without
segment,
making
President
Trump
Trump, you go
condemn
first,
white
2 minutes.
supremacists.
You're like really pressing
Because
him on it.
there has
Yeah.
never been an administration or president who has done more than I've done in a period of 3.5 years. And that's despite the impeachment hoax. And you saw what happened today with Hillary Clinton, where it was a whole big con job. But despite
Come
going
on, you
through
say
all of
crooked
these
Hillary.
things where I had
I
to fight
missed that. I
know, I'm looking
both
for that
flanks
too.
and behind
I'm looking
me
for that.
and above, there has never been an administration that's done what I've done. The greatest, before COVID came in, the greatest economy in history, lowest unemployment numbers. Everything was good. Everything was going. And by the way, there was unity going to happen. People were calling me for the first time in years. They were calling and they were saying
People
it's
didn't wanna
time
talk to me.
maybe. And then what
They were
happened? We
calling.
got hit, but now we're building it back up again. A rebuilding of the military, including Space Force and all
Space
of the
Force,
other
that
things.
should have been on the goddamn
a
bingo.
fixing of the
Should
VA,
have.
which was a
The
mess
Netflix
under
show.
him. 308,000
It's so
people
funny.
died because they didn't have proper health care. It was a mess. And we
Jeff
now
is
got
a
a 91% approval rating at the VA, our vets. We take care of our vets. But we've rebuilt our military. The job that we've done, and I'll tell you
Clap,
something,
you
some
stupid
people say maybe the
bastards.
most important. By the end of the first term, I'll have approximately 300 federal judges and Court of Appeals judges, 300, and hopefully 3 great
If
Supreme
that
Court
is
judges,
not an argument for
justices.
fucking court
That
backing.
is a record, the likes of
I don't know
which
what
very few people, and you know one of the reasons I'll have so many judges? Because President Obama and him left me 128 judges to fill. When you leave
they?
office, you
I'm gonna
don't
have
leave
to guess
any
that they
judges.
were
That's like, you
unable to
just
fill
don't do
those
that.
seats.
They left 128
Yeah, good
openings,
call.
and if I were a member of his party, because they have a little
We
different
know at least
philosophy,
one of them,
I'd
right?
say if you left
Definitely.
us 128 openings, you can't be a good president.
fucked up.
You can't be a good vice
my
president.
God.
But I want to thank you because it gives us it'll probably be above that number by the end of this term.
Fine, sir.
300 judges. It's a record.
Looking at both your records, why should voters elect you president as opposed to President Trump?
this
You have 2
president-
minutes uninterrupted.
Under this president, we become weaker, sicker, poorer, more divided, and more violent. When I was vice president, we inherited a recession. I was asked to fix it. I did. We left him a booming economy, and he caused the recession. With regard to being weaker, the fact is that I've gone head to head with Putin and made it clear to him we're not going to
Putin's buddy.
take any of his
Putin's buddy.
stuff.
Putin's buddy.
He's
Putin's
Putin's puppy. He still
Oh.
refuses to even say anything to
Does
Putin
that count? He
about
said Putin's
the bounty
puppy.
on the heads
Yeah.
of American soldiers.
Did he?
His son got
And-
$3.5 million.
That's right.
Mi-
And by
Did
the
he
way,
really?
Mr.
My
President,
Yeah, he said
son-
Putin's
wait a
puppy.
minute. Mr. President,
Yeah,
your
that definitely
campaign
counts.
agreed.
He probably meant to say
both
puppet,
sides would
but
get 2
he,
minute
he went with
answers
puppet.
uninterrupted. Well, your side agreed to
kinda
it.
weird, but-
And why don't you observe what your campaign agreed to as a ground rule, okay, sir?
He never keeps his word. Can you
Because-
add back
He's
No, I'm
a
not
person
asking.
that's
That
not
was a
yelling.
rhetorical question.
Can you
Go
add
ahead,
back
sir.
30 seconds?
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
you may have.
All right.
Go ahead.
So,
Insane.
thirdly, we're poor. The billionaires have gotten much more wealthy by a tune of over $300 to $400 billion more just since COVID. You in the home, you got less. You're in more trouble than you were before.
Good points.
In terms of being more violent, when we were in office, there were 15% less violence in America than there is today. He's president of the United States. It's on his watch. And with regard
Should've
to
pressed that
more
harder,
divided, the nation can't stay divided. We can't be this way. And speaking of my son, the way you talk about the military, the way you talk about them being losers and being and just being suckers. My son was in Iraq. He spent a year there. He got the Bronze Star. He got the Conspicuous Service Medal. He was not a loser. He was a patriot, and the people left behind there were heroes.
Really?
And I resent
Are you talking
like
about
hell.
Hunter? Are you talking about
I'm
Hunter?
talking about my son, Bo Biden. You're talking about
I don't know Bo. I know Hunter.
Yeah,
Hunter
you know
got
Bo.
Hunter got thrown out of the military. He was thrown out, dishonorably discharged.
That's not true. He
for
wasn't dishonorably
cocaine use. And he didn't have a job until you became vice president. And once you
None
became
of that
vice
is
president,
true.
he made a fortune in Ukraine, in China, in Moscow,
That is simply
and various
not
other places.
true.
He
My
made a
son,
fortune.
Gentlemen,
my
this was
son,
always a
lot of that
my
is true.
son,
Yeah,
like
this
a
was
lot of
always a
people,
liability
like a
for
lot of people we
Biden.
know at home, had a drug problem. He's overtaken it. He's fixed it. He's worked on it, and I'm proud of him.
But why
I'm
was he
proud of
given
my
tens
son.
of millions
All
of
right.
But
dollars?
he wasn't given
All right.
tens of millions
He was
of dollars.
given
That
tens
is
of
totally,
millions of
that's
dollars.
been totally
President Trump,
discredited.
we've already been
Totally discredited.
We've already been through this. I think the American people would rather hear about more substantial
So do I.
subjects. Well, you know, as the moderator, sir, I'm going to make a
I know, but when
judgment
somebody
call here.
gets $3.5 million
Okay, great.
from the
Let's
mayor
talk
of
about-
Moscow,
let's talk
That is
about-
not
I think
true.
it's a terrible
That
thing.
report is totally
Why did he get
discredited.
it?
I
Mitt
think,
Romney on that committee said it wasn't worth taxpayers' money, that report. It was written for political reasons.
you know, I'd like to talk about climate change.
So would I.
Okay. The forest fires in the West are raging now.
shocked
They
that
have
this is
burned millions of acres. They have displaced hundreds of thousands
Chris
of people.
Wallace believe
When
in
state officials
climate
there
change?
blamed
I
the
don't know.
fires
Are
on
you allowed
climate
to
change,
work
Mr.
at
President,
Fox
you
News?
said, I don't think
think
the science
he is
knows.
by far
Over
the
your 4
furthest left of
years,
anyone on-
you have
on
pulled the U.S. out of the Paris Climate Accord. You have rolled back a number of
Other than
Obama
maybe, Shep
environmental
Smith.
records. What do you believe
than
about the
Tucker
science
Carlson.
of climate
That's what I was
change?
gonna say, yeah.
And what will you do in the next 4 years
This was
to
a
confront
joke.
it?
I fucking
I
hate Tucker
want
Carlson. Don't
crystal
listen to him.
clean water and air. I want beautiful, clean air. We have now the lowest carbon. If you look at our numbers
Lowest
right
carbon.
now, we are doing phenomenally. But I haven't destroyed our businesses. Our businesses aren't put out of commission. If you look at the Paris Accord, it was a disaster from our standpoint, and people are actually very happy about
it
what's
was
going on
a
because
non-binding
our businesses
agreement.
are doing well.
Yeah.
As
I mean,
far
it was
as
a
the fires are
disaster,
concerned,
but, like,
Yeah,
you need forest
they didn't
management
go far
in
enough.
addition to
Way that
everything
he's
else.
talking about.
The forest floors are loaded up with trees, dead trees that are years old, and they're like tinder, and leaves and everything else. You drop a
Trees
cigarette
decay.
in there, the whole forest burns down.
They're
You've
supposed
got
to
to have
do that.
forest management.
What do you
You've got to have
believe?
cuts.
What do you believe about the science of climate change, sir?
I believe that we have to do everything we can to have immaculate air, immaculate water, and do whatever else we can that's good. You know, we're planting 1 billion trees. The billion
Whatever's
tree
good.
project.
Whatever's
like good things.
You
Whatever's
believe
good.
that human pollution, greenhouse gas emissions contributes to the global warming of
I
this
think
planet?
a lot of things do, but I think to an extent, yes. I think to an extent, yes. But I also think we have to do better management of our forests every year. I
Okay,
get
we
the
already
call.
talked about this.
California's burning.
Big yikes.
California's
Big
burning.
yikes for me.
If that was cleaned, if you had forest management, good forest management, you wouldn't be getting those calls. You know, in Europe, they have forest cities. They're called forest cities.
Europe.
They maintain their forests. They manage their forests. I was with the head of a major country. It's a forest city. He said, sir, we have trees that are far more, they ignite much easier than California. There shouldn't be that problem. I spoke with the governor about it. I'm getting along very well with the governor. But I said, you know, at some point, you can't every year have hundreds of thousands of acres of land just burned to the ground.
But, sir,
That's burning down because of a lack of
But,
management.
sir, if you believe in the science of climate change, why have you rolled back the Obama Clean Power Plan, which limited carbon emissions in power plants? Why have you relaxed?
Because it was driving energy prices through the sky.
Why have you relaxed fuel economy standards that are going to create more pollution from cars
Well,
and
not
trucks?
really, because what's happening is the car is
Yes,
much less
definitely,
expensive and
really.
it's a much safer
Definitely,
car.
really, yeah.
And you're talking about a tiny difference. And then what would happen, because of the cost of the car, you would have at least double and triple the number of cars
Yeah, so he's
purchased.
talking about
We have
more
the old
emissions.
slugs out there that are 10, 12 years old. If you did that, the car would be safer. It would be much cheaper by
But in the case of
$3,500.
California, they've simply
no, but you
ignored
would take
your-
a lot of
your
cars
roadmap.
off the market because people would be able to afford a car.
I don't know where he's going on that
so,
one.
And by the way, we're going to see how that turns
It
out.
doesn't. It doesn't
But a lot
make
of
any
people
sense.
agree with
right?
me. Many
But
people.
It does
The
kind of
car
fit
has
with the
gotten
whole,
so
I have made
expensive
car
because they have computers all over the
manufacturing
place
America.
for an extra little bit.
So,
Okay.
big
of
appeal
gasoline.
to the Midwest.
And I'm okay with electric cars too. I think I'm all for electric cars. I've given big incentives for electric cars. But what they've done in California is just
All right.
crazy.
Vice President Biden, I'd like you to respond to the president's climate change record, but I also want to ask you about a concern. You proposed $2 trillion in green jobs. You talk about new limits, not abolishing, but new limits on fracking, ending the use of fossil fuels to generate electricity by 2035, and zero net emission of greenhouse gases by 2050. The president
Not nearly
says
enough.
a lot
Not
of
enough,
these things would tank
Not
the
even
economy
nearly,
and cost millions
but-
of jobs.
He's
Better
absolutely
than
wrong, number one. Number two, if in fact, during our administration, the Recovery Act, I was in charge, able to
Don't
bring
think
down
that
the
meets
cost
the,
of
IPCC
renewable energy
recommendation.
to cheaper than or as cheap as coal
Yep.
and gas and oil. Nobody's going to build another coal-fired plant in America. No one's going to build another oil-fired plant in America. They're going to move to renewable energy, number one. Number two, we're going to make sure that we are able to take the federal fleet and turn it into a fleet that's run on their electric vehicles. Making sure that we can do that, we're going to put 500,000 charging stations and all of the
Literally
highways that we're
calling
going to be
for
building in the future.
electrifying
We're going to build
FBI
an
cars.
economy that, in fact, is going to provide
sick,
for
though.
the
Incredibly
ability us to
neoliberal.
take 4 million and make sure that they, in fact, are weatherized in a way that, in fact, they'll
the
emit
guns are gonna
significantly
be,
less
pride
gas and
flag
oil because
design.
the heat will not be
Dude,
going out.
did
There's
you
so many
see-
things that we can do
you see
now
these,
to create
Raytheon,
thousands
I
and
think, is
thousands of
making
jobs. We
bullets
can
that
get
have
to net
seeds in them for
zero in
wildflowers
terms of
that grow in the
energy
desert.
production
Oh my
by
God.
2035. Not only not costing people
Climate
jobs,
change
creating
via
jobs,
warfare.
creating millions of good-paying jobs, not $15 an hour, but prevailing wage, by having a new infrastructure that in fact is green. And the first thing I will do, I will rejoin the Paris Accord. I will join the Paris Accord because with us out of it, look what's happening. It's all falling apart. And talk about someone who has no relationship with foreign policy. Brazil, the rainforests of Brazil are being torn down, are being ripped down. More carbon is absorbed in that rainforest than every bit of carbon that's emitted in the United States. Instead of doing something about that, I would be
I know a
gathering
bunch of
up and
people
making
who will
sure
come
we
out
had
and
the
vote for you if you
countries of
endorse
the
the
world
Green
coming
New
up
Deal.
with $20 billion and say,
Yeah,
here's
I know.
$20 billion.
Know a few
Stop tearing down
And all the people
the
he's trying
forest.
to appeal
And if you
to,
don't, then you're going to have
by not saying
significant
Green New Deal.
economic consequences.
What about the argument that
those people are gonna
President
vote for Trump either
basically
way.
says that you
Yeah,
have to
it's not worth
balance
it. You should just embrace
environmental
it.
interests and
Most
economic
Dems won't.
interests, and he's drawn his line.
Well, he hadn't drawn a line. He still, for example, makes sure that he wants to make sure that methane's not a problem. You can now emit more methane without it being a problem. Methane. This is a guy who says that you don't have to have mileage standards for automobiles that exist now. This is the guy who says that, well, the fact that it's all true. And here's
He's
the deal.
talking about the Green New Deal, and it's not $2 billion or $20 billion, as you said. It's $100 trillion.
I'm talking about
where they
the
want to rip
Biden
down
plan.
Biden is in his
buildings
element right
and
now.
rebuild the building.
No,
It's the
that is
dumbest,
not-
He is
most
completely
ridiculous.
in
not-
Where
control.
airplanes are out of
That's
business,
it.
where two-car systems are out, where they
Not
want
true.
to take out the cows too.
Not
That's not
true.
true either, right?
Not
This is
true.
a $100
out
trillion.
cows.
That's more money than
That
our
is-
country could make in
that is
100
simply
years if we're
not
going by
the case.
All right, let me
It will destroy our
because I
country.
actually wait a minute, sir. I actually have studied your plan, and it includes upgrading 4 million buildings, weatherizing 2 million homes over 4 years, building 1.5 million energy-efficient homes. So the question becomes: the president is saying, I think some people who support the president would say that sounds like it's going to cost a lot of money and hurt the economy.
What it's going to do is going to create thousands and millions of jobs, good-paying
trillion.
jobs.
Let him finish, sir.
He doesn't know how to do that.
$100 billion.
The fact is, it's going to create millions of good-paying jobs, and these tax incentives.
You do have to love
for
Trump
people to
attacking
weatherize,
Biden
which he
on a
wants to
plan that Biden
get rid
has
of.
not
It's
endorsed.
going to make the economy much safer. Look how much we're paying now.
He's trying to
deal
make
with
it
the
all
hurricanes,
stick,
with the deal with. By the way, he
It's
has an
not
answer for
working.
hurricanes. He said maybe we should drop a nuclear weapon on them. They may.
I never said that
That's
at all.
he did say.
You made it up.
And here's the deal.
You make up a
we
lot.
are going to be in a position where we can create hard, good jobs by making
Wanna
sure
make
the
some hard
environment
jobs.
is
Hard
clean
jobs.
and we all are in better shape. We spend billions of dollars now, billions of dollars on floods, hurricanes, rising seas. We're in real trouble. Look what's happened just in the Midwest with these storms that come through and wipe out entire sections and counties in Iowa. They didn't happen before. They're because of global warming. We make up 15% of the world's problem. We, in fact, but the rest of the world, we've got to get them to come along. That's why we have to get back into the Paris Accord.
All right, gentlemen,
Wait a minute, Chris. So why didn't he do it for 47
that really
years?
was
You were
the
vice president.
significance
Why didn't you
of
get the
the
world?
Paris Accord,
China
right, which
sends
is
up
that
real dirt
we're all
into the air.
understanding
Russia
that at least
does,
we all
India
do
does,
have to
they
do
all
something,
We're
you
supposed
know?
to be good. And by the way, he made a
Yo.
couple of statements. The
fucking
Green New
hate to
Deal
say it,
is
but
$100 trillion.
this debate is
That
kind of
not
making
my
me want to
plan.
vote
That's
for Biden.
Green
Well,
New
you want to
Deal
rebuild every
is not
building.
my plan.
You want to rebuild
If
every
he knew
You have to-
anything
wait a
about
minute.
it, if he knew
Gentlemen,
He
anything
made a
about
statement
Gentlemen.
about the military. He said I said something about the military. He and his friends made it up, and then they went with it. I never said it.
Okay.
That is
What
not
he
true.
did
Sir,
is he
you're done in
said
this segment.
he called
Mr.
the
Vice-
military
Mr. Vice President,
stupid bastards.
I
and
did
said
not
it on
say
tape.
that.
He said
There we go.
stupid
Please,
bastards. He
not
said it. I would never
I
say
would
that
Play
to the
Stop.
military.
Play it.
Play
That's
it.
it.
Play
He
the
said it's
clip.
not,
President.
it's not true.
answered his final question.
The final question is, I can't remember which of all his rantings was the
I'm having a
final
little
question.
trouble- I'm having a little trouble myself, but and about the
Amazing.
economy and about this
Amazing.
question of what it's going to cost.
The economy.
I mean, the Green New Deal and the
the-
idea of what your
the
environmental
Green New
changes
Deal-
will do.
The Green New Deal will pay for itself as we move forward. We're not going to build plants that, in fact, are great polluting plants.
So do you
We're going to
support
build
the Green New Deal?
Pardon me?
You support that?
No, I don't support the Green
Oh,
New
you
Deal.
don't? Oh, well, that's a
You
big
let-
statement.
I
No, it's
support the
not.
plan.
He has
The
been
radical
very
left.
clear
I
about
said-
that.
I support
Oh,
the
yeah.
Biden
No one thought he
plan
did.
that I put forward.
Okay.
The Biden plan, which is different than what he calls the radical Green New Deal.
All right, gentlemen, final segment, election integrity. As we meet tonight, millions of Americans are receiving mail-in ballots or going to vote early. How confident should we
Oh, God,
be
here we
that
go.
this will be a fair election? And what are you prepared to do over the next 5+ weeks, because it'll not only be to Election Day, but also counting some ballots, mail-in ballots after Election Day. What are you prepared to do to reassure the American people that the next president will be the legitimate winner of this election? In this final segment, Mr. Vice President, you go first.
Prepared to let people vote. They should go to iwillvote.com. Decide how they're going to vote, when they're going to vote, and what means by which they're going to vote. His own Homeland Security Director, and as well as the FBI Director, says there is no evidence at all that mail-in ballots are a source of being manipulated and cheating. They said that. The fact is that there are going to be millions of people because of COVID that are going to be voting by mail-in ballots, like he does, by the way. He sits behind the Resolute desk and sends his ballot to Florida, number one. Number two, we're going to make sure that those people who want to vote in person are able to vote because enough poll watchers are there to make sure they can socially distance. The polls are open on time, and the polls stay open until the votes are counted. And this is all about trying to dissuade people from voting because he's trying to scare people into thinking that it's not going to be legitimate. Show up and vote. You will determine the outcome of this election. Vote, vote, vote. If you're able to vote early in your state, vote early. If you're able to vote in person, vote in person. Vote whatever way is the best way for you, because he cannot stop you from being able to determine the outcome of this election. And in terms of whether or not when the votes are counted, and they're all counted, that will be accepted. If I win, that will be accepted. If I lose, that'll be accepted. But by the way, if in fact he says he's not sure what he's going to accept, well, let me tell you something. It doesn't matter, because if we get the votes, it's going to be all over. He's going to go. He can't stay in power. It won't happen. It won't happen. So vote. Just make sure you understand you have it in your control to determine what this country is going to look like the next 4 years. Is it going to change, or you get 4 more years of these lies?
Mr. President, 2 minutes.
So when I listened to Joe talking about a transition, there's been no transition from when I won. I won that election. And if you look at crooked Hillary Clinton.
Oh, that's on
Crooked Hillary!
Crooked Hillary.
Bingo!
There was no transition because they came after me trying to do a coup. They came after me spying on my campaign. They started from the day I won and even before
bingo,
I won.
baby.
From the day I came down the escalator with our First
we're getting
Lady.
close.
They were a disaster. They were a disgrace to our country. And we've
Damn.
caught them.
No,
We've caught
Biden
them
has
all.
dementia.
We've
That
got
is
it
a
all
big
on tape.
surprise.
We've caught them all. And by the way, you gave the idea for the Logan Act against General Flynn. You better take a look at that because we caught you in a sense. And President Obama was sitting in the office. He knew about it too. So don't tell me about a free transition. As far as the ballots are concerned, it's a disaster.
Jeb is
A
a mess.
solicited ballot.
Jeb is a
Okay, solicited is okay. You're soliciting, you're asking, they send it back, you send it back. I did that. If you have an unsolicited, they're sending millions of ballots all over the country.
Yeah.
There's fraud. They found them in creeks. They found some with the name Trump, just happened to have the name Trump just the other day in a waste paper basket. They're being sent all over the place. They sent 2 in a Democrat area. They sent out 1,000 ballots. Everybody got 2 ballots. This is going to be a fraud like you've never seen. The other thing, it's nice on November 3rd, you're watching
he wins,
and you
is
see
it a
who won
fraud?
the election. And I think we're going to do well because people are really happy with the job
Yeah.
we've done. But you know what? We won't know.
Definitely.
We might not know for months because these ballots are going to be all over. Take a look at what happened
He's
in
not gonna
Manhattan. Take a
concede.
look at what happened in New Jersey. Take a look at what happened in Virginia and other places. They're not losing 2%, 1%, which, by the way, is too much. An election could be won or lost with that. They're losing 30 and 40%. It's a fraud, and it's a shame. And
It's
can you
unfortunate
imagine
Trump
where they
is the
say
only one willing to call
you
that
have to
out.
have your ballot in by November 10th?
because a lot of
November
votes
10th.
aren't
That
thrown
means that's 7 days
a
after
real shame.
the election,
Joe
in
Biden's
theory,
not willing.
should have been announced.
Okay.
We have major
No,
states with
time-
that.
sir,
All run by
2 minutes
Democrats.
is 2 minutes.
All
You're-
run by
you're-
Democrats. It's a
President
fraud.
Trump,
It's a rigged election.
you're going to be able to continue. You have been charging for months that mail-in balloting is going to be a disaster. You say it's rigged, that it's going to lead to fraud. But in 2018, in the last midterm election, 31 million people voted mail-in voting. That was a quarter, more than a quarter of all the voters that year cast their ballots by mail. Now that millions of mail-in ballots have gone out, what are you going to do about it? And are you counting on the Supreme Court, including a Justice Barrett, to settle any dispute?
Yeah, I think I'm counting on them to look at the ballots, definitely. I don't think I hope we don't need them.
Supreme Court has
in
a
terms
great
of the election
history of
itself.
this.
But for the ballots, I
Very
think so.
recently.
Because what's
That's
happening
good,
is
though.
incredible. I just heard, I read today, where at least 1% of the ballots for 2016 were invalidated. They take them, we don't like them, we don't like them.
But
They
what are you
throw
going to
them
do
out
about it?
left
If there
and
are
right.
millions of ballots going out
What
right
you
now,
do
what
is
are
you
gonna
go
do?
and vote. You do a solicited ballot,
No,
and that's
I'm not-
okay,
I know
or
your
you go and
complaint. I'm
vote.
asking you about the fact that millions of people
You go
have
and
rece-
vote. You go and
No,
vote
but
like
what I'm
they
saying is, what are
like
you
they
gonna do
used
about
to
the
in
fact
the
that
old.
millions of people-
You either do, Chris, a solicited ballot where you're sending it in, they're sending it back, and you're sending. They have mailmen with lots of it. Did you see what's going on?
Solicited
Take a look
ballot.
at West Virginia. Mailmen
Look at
selling
that.
the ballots.
Something.
They're being sold. They're being dumped in rivers. This is a horrible thing for our country.
There is no-
This is not.
there is no
This is
evidence
not
of
going to
that.
end well.
There is
Okay.
no
This
evidence
is
of that.
not going
Vice
to
President
end well.
Biden-
5 states
In fact,
have had
go ahead,
mail-in
sir.
ballots for the last decade or more. 5, including 2 Republican states. And you don't have to solicit the ballot. It's sent to you. It's sent to your home. What we're saying is,
All of
we're
us
saying
live
is
in
that it has
states
to be
where
a
this is
postmark
true. We
by
have some of
the
the
time,
most
by election day.
participation.
If it doesn't get in till the 7th, 8th, 9th, it still should be counted. He's just afraid of counting the votes because he
You're
knows
wrong.
the outcome.
You're
Okay,
wrong.
well,
I
no,
love
I want to
counting.
continue with you on
I
this.
love
Vice
counting.
President Biden.
I love
Chris, he's so
counting
wrong
votes.
when he makes
In
a
fact,
statement
no,
like that.
excuse me.
Chris, come on, buddy.
Vice President Biden,
He's so
the biggest
wrong, Chris.
problem, in fact, over the years with mail-in voting has not been fraud historically. It has been that sizable numbers, sometimes hundreds of thousands of ballots are thrown out because they have not been properly filled out or there is some other irregularity or they
can
missed
be fraud.
the deadline. So the question I have is, are you concerned that the Supreme Court with a Justice Barrett will settle any dispute?
I'm concerned that any court would settle this because here's the deal. When you get a ballot and you fill it out, you're supposed to have an affidavit. If you didn't know, you have someone say that this is me. You should be able to, if in fact you can verify that's you before the ballot is thrown out, that's sufficient to be able to count the ballot because someone made a mistake and not dotting the correct I. Who they voted for, testify, say who they voted for, say it's you. That is totally legitimate.
All right.
Excuse me, Chris, when you have 80 million ballots
Gentlemen, I have a final
sent in
question.
and swamping the system, you know it can't be done. You know it can't. And already
All
there's
right.
been
So now,
fraud.
Mail service delivers
wait a minute, gentlemen. And the
185
final
million
question
pieces of mail a
is,
day.
in
million
8
ballots.
states, we can keep talking. In
It's
8
a
states,
disgrace.
election workers are
Look for Trump to
prohibited,
get more extreme.
currently by law, 8 states, from even beginning to process ballots, even take them out of the envelopes and
Yes.
flatten them until Election Day. That means that it's likely, because there's going to be a huge increase in mail-in balloting, that we are not going to know on election night who the winner is, that it could be days, it could be weeks.
Could be months.
Until we find out who the
Even
new
years.
president is.
Years,
So
yeah.
first for you, sir, finally, for
Decades.
the vice president, I hope neither of you will interrupt the other.
Maybe never.
Will
Maybe we'll
you
never
urge
find
your
out.
supporters to stay calm during this extended period, not to engage in any civil unrest? And will you pledge tonight that you will not declare victory until the election has been independently certified? President
No
Trump,
to
you
I'm
go first.
urging my supporters to go into the polls and watch very carefully because that's what has to happen. I am urging them to do it. As you know, today there was a big problem.
what
In
fascism
Philadelphia,
looks
they
like.
went in to watch. They were
it.
called poll
This is
watchers,
it.
a very
This is how it
safe,
works.
very nice thing. They were thrown out. They weren't allowed to watch. You know why? Because bad things
Because
happen
they
in
were
Philadelphia.
intimidating
Bad
people.
things. And I am urging my people. I hope it's going to be a fair election. If it's a fair
You're urging
election,
them what?
I am 100% on board. But if I see tens of thousands of ballots being manipulated, I can't go along with that. And I'll tell
what-
you what,
what does that
from
mean,
a
not go
common
along?
sense,
Does that mean
I'll
you're gonna
tell you
try
what
I am
it means.
urging my
It means you have a
supporters
You have a
to
fraudulent
put their
election.
black shirts
You're sending
on
out 80
and
million
go to the
ballots.
polls
They're
and
not-
watch.
They're not equipped to, these people aren't equipped to handle
Yeah,
it.
that's
Number
what he's
one.
saying.
Number two,
I was like,
they cheat.
wink, wink.
They cheat.
Don't
Hey,
intimidate people.
They found
Wink, wink.
ballots in a waste paper basket 3 days ago.
7 votes. He's
and
talking
they
about
all
like
had the
fucking
name
7
military
votes.
ballots. They
Who
were
gives a shit?
military.
Who
They
gives
all
a
had the
shit?
name Trump on them.
Clearly some
Vice
weird
President
people.
think that's
Biden,
good?
It's
Vice President
conspiracy
Biden, final
theory
question
stuff.
for you. Will you
Seven
urge your
votes. Who gives a
supporters to stay calm while the vote is counted? And will you pledge not to declare victory until the election is independently certified?
Yes, and here's the deal. They count the ballots, as you pointed out. Some of these ballots in some states can't even be opened until Election Day. And if there's thousands of ballots, it's going to take time to do it. And by the way, our military, they've been voting by ballots since the end of the Civil War, in effect. And that's what's going to happen. Why was it not? Why is it for them somehow not fraudulent? It's the same process. It's honest. No one has established at all that there is fraud related to mail-in ballots, that somehow it's a fraudulent process.
It's already been established.
Take
Take a look at Carolyn Maloney's race.
I
and
asked
then
you had an opportunity
Look
to
at
respond.
Carolyn Maloney.
Go ahead.
They have no idea what
Vice
happened.
President Biden, go ahead.
He has no idea what he's talking about. Here's the deal. The fact is, I will accept it, and he will too. You know why? Because once the winner is declared after
Trump
all the
is
ballots are
not
counted,
going to be
all the votes are
pleasant
counted,
after this debate.
That'll be the end of it.
Nope.
That'll be
He's
the
going to
end
get a
of it.
lot worse.
And if it's me, in fact, fine. If it's not me,
And I just mean right
I'll
after he
support
walks
the
off the
outcome.
stage,
And I'll be
whoever he
president
has to
not
talk
just
to
for the
first is.
Democrats. I'll be
Gotta
president
get
for Democrats
punched in
and
the gut.
Republicans. And this guy,
I want to
if
see
in
an
fact,
honest
Okay.
ballot count.
Gentlemen,
We-
you say that's the end of
Chris,
it? This is the
I
end
wanna
of this
see an
debate?
honest ballot count.
We're
And I
going to
think
leave
he
it
does
there.
too.
To be continued as in more debates as we go on.
How many more
President
debates
Trump,
are there?
Vice President Biden, it's been an interesting
2,
hour and a
I
half.
believe.
I want to thank you both for participating in the first of 3 debates that you have agreed to engage in. We want to thank Case Western Reserve University and the Cleveland Clinic for hosting this event. The next debate, sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates, will be 1 week from tomorrow, October 7th, at the University of Utah in
Are we
Salt Lake
live
City. The
streaming
2
again?
vice presidential nominees, Vice President Mike Pence and Senator
Maybe
Kamala
we
Harris,
should.
will
Depends
debate
on
at
what the
9
fans
p.m.
want.
Eastern
If
that
they
night.
do
We hope
anything
you
happen.
watch. Until then,
Anything
thank
could
you.
happen. I'm not going to say it, but a lot of people are saying it. So
Many people are saying that Sheeples
Many
Army
people are
needs
saying
to
we're gonna
do
watch
another-
I would never say it. Well, so I'm feeling somewhat humbled because I honestly thought that that was going to look a lot different than it did. Like I said, I thought that Trump was going to be on the attack the entire time.
Yeah.
He tried to do that, but it didn't really work out. And I think Biden clearly, when people are talking about this, are going to say that Biden was the winner tonight.
Oh, yeah. Biden
Yeah.
crushed it way better than I thought he was going to do.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
Yeah,
definitely some
those-
issues he should have pressed a bit more, but
Right. Definitely.
But it
I
was
mean,
good.
and I know I said he should not have allowed that segment on where he was asked to condemn white supremacists. He should not have allowed that to end. He should have just kept pressing him on.
oh
it.
yeah, definitely.
Did y'all just hear that someone said
I did
Donald
hear that.
Trump?
It
Yeah.
kind of distracted me.
It was also crazy. He was like, when they were like, Biden was telling him to talk about the Proud Boys, he was like, stand down and stand by. Not
Right. Yeah, that was
like, what
weird.
does that mean? Stand by?
That
That's a
was
little
very
sketchy.
weird. Yeah,
call.
those might be the guys he wants to head out to the polls to do to be on watch.
To just watch, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. What are you thinking? What are you guys' takeaways from tonight?
So I'm going to agree with you, Tyler, that my expectations were definitely, I definitely apparently underestimated Joe Biden somehow.
Yeah.
He got an extra shot tonight.
I knew that was coming.
Got an extra shot of adrenochrome.
Or that ice cream like really kicked in.
Yeah, exactly. He had an extra 2 scoops. So, it's Joe Biden's cheat day, so we look a lot more
Cheat
active.
day.
I mean, he looked good. Honestly,
Yeah.
Joe Biden
He
looked good.
did.
I think
He looked good.
you can tell from my surprised reaction the entire debate. I was like, oh, he's kind of killing it. And
Yeah.
also, like nothing wrong with arguing to build 1 million more houses for people. Like,
No. Yeah.
I worked at a shelter for seniors who were homeless, and like that shit is not cool. Building 1 million houses, like that's no joke. Like,
Yeah.
that's no joke.
No, but Biden was on it tonight. I think that the fallout from this, partly on Trump's part, I think we're probably gonna see some tweets in the coming minutes about how Fox News was very unfair to him, just because Chris
Looking forward
Wallace
to it.
as the sort of representative of Fox News. So they might be out now. Which is good because Trump's media company, post-election, if he loses, will be able to fill that space.
God.
I don't know what it'll be called yet, but it's I'm sure that'll
Trump
be
TV.
interesting. Yeah.
QVC.
What's your takeaway, TJ? What's the post-mortem here?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just agree. Like we all talked about it before that we kind of thought Trump was going to be on the offensive, and
Right.
but Biden kind of stepped up.
Yeah.
And that was nice. It was good. I mean, kind of like Justin said, like I was like, kind of made me want to vote for Biden.
Yeah. Trump was doing the very kind of standard, a lot of interruptions, right? A lot of
Just trying.
trying to get the last word in. If you notice, like even after the moderators, like they'll say we're gonna move on, he'll be like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. But
I'm still in control.
Chris Wallace is the big hero here.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
totally.
I'm impressed by
Super
Chris
impressed.
Wallace. It would have been a much different debate if someone had let Trump dominate.
Agreed.
did not.
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, I definitely agreed. Yeah, Chris Wallace did well, and like we were saying tonight, or earlier tonight, that was the thing. It was like it was kind of interesting that the Democrats let a Fox News host the first debate. That was an interesting concession, I would say, regardless. But as it turned out, I guess he was very moderate, I would say.
Mhm.
A little impressive, yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely impressive.
Yeah. Kind of talking to them like they were children. Really, it was Trump, which was funny. I'm sure everybody got a kick out of that. Yeah. What did we have? That discussion on climate change with Trump just kind of trying to attack Biden for supporting a policy that he doesn't actually
doesn't,
support,
yeah.
right? That he has been very clear about not embracing, and as well as the rest of the
That's kind of their thing, though. They did it at the national convention.
I mean,
also, that was a big.
Right. Yeah. And
try.
and even the rest of the Democratic establishment has also been very clear that they will not be supporting the Green New Deal.
Definitely not. No.
That.
But I think Biden came out looking pretty good on that. Also,
He definitely took the W on this one.
He did. Yeah. Although, I mean, obviously, yeah, we knew he wasn't going to support the Green New Deal, but
Yeah.
like I said earlier, the people that Trump is able to, or the people who are particularly alienated by all these talking points about the Green New Deal, the stuff about the cows. I've seen stuff about, I mean, a lot of stuff about food and stuff. That group of people was never going to vote for Biden in the first place. So that's
doesn't really matter. Yeah.
No, exactly. That's part of why. I mean, it would be nice, obviously, if Biden would, support that. Obviously not going to happen. But and then that's the same thing with healthcare too, though, right? It's like all this stuff about socialized medicine and stuff. All the people who are susceptible to those talking points were never going to vote for Biden in the first place. And frankly, Biden would be better positioned actually if he were up there defending Medicare for all instead of having to defend this kind of market-based health insurance program that has helped a lot of people, right? But that has also left millions of people out, right?
I mean, yeah, totally. I think the question with Obamacare is like, to what extent does advocating for a middle of the road strategy actually preclude a situation in which all people have health care?
Right.
Right. And so I think that's like a big question. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think, TJ?
Can you repeat the question?
Well, I had a thought.
Go for it, Tyler.
This is how, I mean, frankly, like I said, he would be better positioned if he were doing if he were supporting Medicare for all, because, and I know we've addressed this on the on the show already, but like, Hillary said she was going to expand Obamacare. Right?
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's a little different now, right? Because, Trump is actually going after it. He's actually been in office for 4 years and they've made some gains, right? The Republican tax cuts set the individual mandate at 0. And that allowed, a federal court to rule that part of the bill was unconstitutional, right? The individual mandate. And I know I talked about this last night, right? That was yes, that was late last year, and in 2017 was when the Republicans, basically made the individual mandate obsolete by setting it at 0 in the tax bill. But the thing, I know I said this last night. The thing with the individual mandate is that was always open to a tax, right? People don't like the fact that you have to buy something in a marketplace or else you're penalized.
Yeah,
that is not that is a
firsthand experience.
Right, it's a fucking disaster. Yeah, if you did a Medicare for all plan that was paid for by raising taxes, and I'm not convinced that you would have to raise taxes on the middle class for that. I know Bernie's plan did involve that.
Yeah,
there's enough wealth and income going to the top like 1% where I would imagine
you could probably be fine. Yeah,
you would be fine implementing a national healthcare system. And I know there was a lot of talk a couple years ago about this, the marginal tax rate. I don't remember what the exact numbers they were kind of floating, but I think it was AOC had talked about. What was it? Do you guys remember? It was like 90% after 4 million or something.
It'd be awesome.
Come on,
that would be.
That'd
be roughly in line with where it was.
Right. You mean like after World War II or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I would be shocked if something like that would not be sufficient to cover a national health plan. I mean, I
definitely would.
I just don't see it.
Jeff Bezos alone could end world hunger.
Sure. Yeah.
Whenever he wants.
Yeah.
It'd be fine. Yeah.
At any time.
But I guess I'm talking.
Waiting.
What I'm really doing here is fantasizing, because I guess Biden was never really going to support any of those things in the first place. I just do want it to be clear that ultimately, if it had been, someone else up there, I'm thinking, if it had been Bernie up there, he would have been defending those policies and actually been been
Totally.
better positioned. I think.
You know, it fucking sucks that Bernie dropped out. Like it really,
Right.
it sucks a lot.
And the Hunter Biden stuff was always going to be a liability
it was.
Oh yeah.
for Biden. We knew that when it came out. You know,
The thing is
I
that
thought he handled it all right though.
he did.
He did.
But it would have been nice if there had been nothing there
Oh, yeah,
for that.
and they
You know
got
what I
2
mean?
more debates, so like we'll
Right.
see. That's a soft spot for Biden.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, like it would be amazing to see Bernie Trump debates because Bernie would absolutely smoke him. I honestly
He
think
would.
that if Bernie
Yeah.
ran, he would win in probably one of the biggest like margins in American history.
I agree. Yeah. And he, the funny thing always was that Bernie polled better than in like those
Anyone
general
else?
matchup polls than any of the primary candidates, even if you were looking at like 2015 and 2016, right? And yet that narrative was extremely persistent within the kind of mainstream media and within the Democratic establishment, right? Which was that Bernie was, you know, a liability. But then they decided to go with Biden, who was a staunch supporter of the crime bill, right? That was a liability, right? That's not on.
It came up.
That's
it came
not
up,
on.
yeah.
Right. That's not on Trump's record. I'm surprised at the Iraq War. I didn't see anything about that. I guess
they're both in Iraq, so it's like.
Okay, I guess like what I was going to say though is that you know, Trump doesn't have those liabilities in terms of having a record where he voted for, you know, things like you know, the Iraq War, the crime bill, that kind of stuff.
True.
I think does anybody else have any last comments?
Real quick, just shout out to the 3-ish people who were with us this whole time. Thank you. Much love. Appreciate the support.
There was like hundreds of people in and out, but only
Hundreds
3
of
people
people,
that were like
literally
really sticking
hundreds,
with
but
us.
3 were with us for the whole time. So thank you.
All right. And yeah, thank you. Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Please hit up at Sheeples Army Pod on Twitter, right? Instagram, Sheeples Army, right?
Yep. Definitely. And Twitch at Sheeples Army Pod as well. Peace. Thanks for watching.
Everybody. Next